if you have a milkshake, and I have a milkshake, and I have a straw, there it is, that's a straw, you see. Watching. And my straw reaches across the room and starts to drink your milkshake. I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
A few minutes later.
Such a friendly gesture now. Just keep me out of the freezer and don't give me a cold shoulder, 'cause I am just a fragile can. Whoa. And you could crush me, crush me, crush me with your hand. So just tap me with your finger and I'll understand. So just tap me with your finger, I won't overflow again. I'm not who you think I am. Whoa. They call me soda pop can man. Pressure is such a friendly gesture now. Just get me out of the freezer and don't give me the cold shoulder, 'cause I am just a fragile man. I'm a castle made of sand. Here comes the tide again to wash me out to sea again. Such a friendly gesture now. Just keep me out of the freezer and don't give me the cold shoulder, 'cause I am just a fragile can. Whoa. And you could crush me, crush me, crush me with your hand. So just tap me with your finger and I'll understand.
All right, who's coming? Link is pinned. It's at the top of the comment section there. Let's see here. A lot of people are streaming, so let's see. Howdy. Yeah, that he's the potter, I'm the clay. That's the idea there. Howdy, what's up, man? Don't give me the cold shoulder.
That was a good one.
I am just a.
Whatever. I don't even know what that was. I just. It was alright.
Right.
Did you do your debate yet?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta check that out. I couldn't. Never saw it coming.
The question, my favorite question that I ask Calvinists regarding God determining things is this. A couple of my favorite ones that I think are unanswerable gotcha questions for them that I think people should rethink how they think about this. Is that, like, Jesus called Satan a murderer from the beginning. Okay, so think about that. How is he a murderer from the beginning, do you suppose? What implicates Satan that makes him a murderer? Jesus said he was a murderer and a liar from the beginning. In the context of where sin comes from. He's looking back to Genesis. And if you think about, well, Satan didn't kill anybody directly, did he? Kind of like David didn't kill anybody directly, if you think about it. But he set people up so that they would be killed with the intent of them dying. And Jesus seems to think that's murder. David seems to be guilty of murder. The devil seems to be guilty of murder, even though the snake never killed anyone. But that's what he's talking about. Now, if Satan's influence, his influence, think about that, implicates him as a murderer, but he didn't actually do the act directly, did he? Think about that. If Calvinism is true, then God determined every murder in some real sense, no different than Satan, seems to me. Satan deceives, Satan corrupts with lies and deceit, not God. And I just don't see how you don't implicate God in the same kind of metaphysical way that Satan would be implicated in, only in a worse way, really. To me, it's obviously God. When Jesus says, whoever causes one of these little ones to stumble, in what way does one cause another person to do something? Well, through influence. But that's not even a real metaphysical concept if God determines everything that comes to pass with specificity and it couldn't be different. But you can still be guilty for your influence on someone. And if influence is what causes people to do things, and there's no other factor there, then God's guilty of every act of deception and sin as much as anyone, if not more, implicated. Sorry, that's not how the Bible presents God. It's utterly separate from that. He has nothing to do with the rebellion, and Jesus said, an enemy has done this. Sorry, that's just how it is. What do you think about that?
It's quite a bit to soak in. I'm thinking it in terms of, like, because I was reading Saint Maximus on his discourse with Pyrrhus, talking about monophysitism and, like, the mode of willing, and, like, does the faculty of will, which is funny because, like, this is, like, sort of what I've been interested in lately, is like the free will, about how people have viewed it. Like, is will like a product of nature or of person? Or yeah, I mean, a couple of critiques that I can think of is like, well, he's like, okay, Satan's called the murderer from the Arche. Well, he wasn't influencing, like, he wasn't immediately influencing anyone as soon as he, came into existence. So, like, if we were taking that literally, it would have to be such that he was somehow in the mode of willing, sort of in opposition or disobedience away from God in some sense, maybe. Although that's hard to reconcile with the passages about the king of Tyre, where he's talking about, in your beginnings you were blameless in all your ways, yada yada, and then you fell at some point. So I don't know. That's kind of like a big bag to get into.
Well, okay, so let me just tell you. My view is that Satan fell before the garden. And when Jesus says he was a liar and a murderer from the beginning, he's referencing the garden scene because that's where the lie comes from. You know, God said, "You shall not die." The serpent said, "You shall surely die." They went with the devil. He's definitely, and that's the foundation biblically. I think he's referencing is the fall.
Right. Yeah. I would agree.
I still do take Satan to have fallen before that via Ezekiel 28 and Isaiah 14, like you're mentioning.
Yeah. Oh,
He's saying Jesus is dealing with the interaction of the fallen nature and humanity that he's come to deal with when he makes that reference. So I think it's quite obvious. But
yeah, actually, Calvinism, I think, was disputed and well, not Calvinism, but this idea of like necessity. It reminded me. What's funny is like the argument I had referenced like a week ago is one that's sort of being gone through with Origin and what's his name, Maximus, where they're talking about, okay, well, if we're willing by nature and like we're like it's causally determined, and so like if is God good? Okay, then he's like like he's good by nature, therefore he's like necessarily good, or he's like a creator by nature, then he necessarily creates, sort of thing. And it's sort of like, I don't know, maybe it's like an appeal to intuition, but it seems non-intuitive to ascribe necessity to God in that way. It seems like he's essentially enslaved by his nature, which is sort of like an uncomfortable thought for most people, I think.
yeah, I think it's a foreign concept to the biblical writers, obviously, but in my opinion, if they didn't want us to make that separation, they wouldn't have said a lot of things that they said if they were concerned with the same sorts of things that Calvinists seem to think we're wrong about for not being Calvinists if we're not Calvinists. Nick beat me. Yeah. We don't have to go like super deep on all this. What do you think, Babylon? Reversing Babylon? You want any thoughts on that? I want us to be a little bit of a lighter conversation. We don't have to like go crazy deep, but I mean, it's open to whatever you guys want to talk about.
Look, I watched the debate, Jamie. It was interesting. It almost felt like you guys were talking past each other. I could be wrong, but like you would say something and then he would respond in his own way, which was more involved with how he believes he's been saved and how happy he is to have been saved. Right. That's sort of what I got from it more. And so because that's what's happened to him, therefore his doctrine is true. So that's what I got from listening to the guy. Now, I would have loved a little bit more discussion between the two of you where I can actually hear a little bit more of what's going on. But from listening to the other guy, what I thought was his main point, which I thought was a good point, was it's really important to understand what God is like. To understand that there's an impact in our lives when we see what God is like. And he's right about that. I just don't think it necessitates having like to become the thing. It's not necessary for that to be the thing, but what is necessary is a clearer and clearer knowledge of who God is. But I think where people, I could be wrong, so you can knock this off. I think where people take the wrong turn is they turn that into, we need to know the right doctrines about how to describe God. What's the right way to describe, how to describe his action or how he interacts with us, rather than actually knowledge of God being an intimate relationship with God in the present, in real life, in what we're doing. This is the necessary knowledge. But that knowledge actually ends up impacting our theology, like the way we explain things. But I think it's sort of like taking it the wrong way to say, okay, first you have to have the right explanation and then you get the good relationship with God. I don't think that's what he means, but it sounded like that was the implication. that look, us Calvinists are doing a lot of work on the doctrines of salvation. Therefore, that's why we're having this great impact. I don't know whether that's true or false, but I think what's actually true is studying the nature of God has an impact on our lives. And I don't think it's a philosophical study. I think it's actually spending time with Jesus and talking to him, studying the Gospels, observing how people live, and then putting that into practice, being open to the Holy Spirit, trusting him, etc. That changes our lives. That's true, and I think it's necessary. I don't think it means that we have to have the correct descriptions of God. I think that's where the train sort of went off the road. And then also when he was talking about, I don't know, did you decide not to press him on this question when he kept on saying it's our sin, it's our sin? Why do you think you pressed him enough
No,
to say
I
to
didn't do
say
it. I
no? Do you think you pressed him enough to say? But because he kept on saying it's because we want to sin, right? But isn't it his position that God decided that we should sin?
I know, right?
Yeah, you did say that, but
I think they're inconsistent. They don't realize it. And so, to be honest, I was so distracted. Like I just wanted to like push my point of view and then just be nice. I guess
yeah, which is
really
good,
get into any of the contentions much at all, to be honest. So, and
because he was saying like it's our sin, we deserve all this because without God we can't be saved, blah, blah. But the question was, isn't it God who decided that we should be this way?
I know, right? Yeah, I feel like he didn't deal with my original contention, which is
No,
kind of,
he did not.
it was just
And
like,
I was surprised that he.
Calvinists don't do that. I'm kind of glad that they are inconsistent. It seems like.
That's right. Were you surprised that he affirmed? I don't know if he seemed to affirm a cosmic conflict.
I know, right?
Right?
In a little bit, like, yeah, in a way. But then he didn't seem to want to back down from accepting all 5 points of tulip, or that God determines everything with purpose. I think that's really weird. Like, that's why I brought up that little illustration about like a woman being assaulted, and like, would you really say that to Jesus? Like, would you really? Like, let's get real.
Yeah.
Let's get like down to like where the rubber meets the road. You really, you saw a woman
No,
being,
that's right. They wouldn't. Then they would say you're misrepresenting them if you say that.
Yeah, but he never really responded to that.
Yeah, he said he brought up Acts chapter 2, right? He brought up Acts. Is it Acts chapter 2? Where he say, Acts chapter 4. Do you want to bring that up and tell us what he was saying? Maybe.
Yeah, it's amazing how they look at that.
Sure. If you bring that one up and tell us what you were saying, and then maybe to just walk us through how you would explain it.
Well, yeah, he was. I brought it up to him because he thought it was Acts 2, and I was like, I think you're thinking of Acts 4.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like they'll use that to explain.
So that if God planned for Jesus to be killed, then it's okay. That means God can plan every other evil thing as well, so to speak. Right? I think that's the idea.
Let me pull up the. Yeah, this is a classic go-to for the Calvinist. I would just go to 1 Corinthians 10:13 and be like, what? You think this means that therefore God groomed them to kill Jesus, like from birth in every single life, like to make sure it happened?
That's right. That's it. Because I think that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So.
How are they going to? I mean, like, what are you trying to do with this exactly? Let's see.
What is the point of believing that anyway? Is it to just get assurance of salvation? To say, if you planned everything, He's planned for my salvation? Because I don't see the necessity. Why is it important to believe this?
Is what they usually do with this is to say the most sinful, horrible act in the world that ever occurred was the murder of the innocent Son of God, and it's like, okay, I guess that's worse than like little kids being molested. I guess, but maybe not. I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah.
Boo!
Yeah,
Talk
yeah.
about something else. Okay. I don't really want to talk about Calvinism.
No,
But
but
tell me.
just to do the verse and tell us what it says, what it means.
Okay. See, where does it say this? I forget.
When they're praying, I think it's when they're praying after they've been beaten up.
Yeah. See. Whom you anointed, both Herod and Pontius Pilate, with the Gentiles and the people of Israel gathered together to do whatever your hand and your purpose determined before to be done. So look, so he determined for truly against your holy servant Jesus, whom you anointed, both Herod and Pontius Pilate. Now, there's so many ways you could read this. For truly against your holy servant Jesus, whom you anointed, I would say that God anointed Jesus, both Herod and Pilate, with the Gentiles and Israel, were gathered to do whatever your hand and your purpose determined before to be done. Yes, of course, God set it up so that Jesus would die to bring salvation to the Gentiles. But they want to like try to impose this to say, oh, God determined every sinful act of their hand. It's like,
yeah, but okay. So I'm thinking. So where does it say this is something that God planned before the foundation of the world? In that passage, no, it doesn't say that in that passage, right? So then they attach that to something else.
yeah, to
So
the theology of the Lamb of God who was slain before the foundation of the world, that sort of thing.
yeah,
Revelation.
but it doesn't. But it doesn't say that there. Right.
No,
So
they want to think of this as every little nook and cranny he determined, and he groomed them to kill Jesus, and they had nothing to say about it. It's like, dude, no, it doesn't say that.
that's right. That's right. And you wouldn't then ask them to be repenting of what he planned for them to do.
Right.
Yeah, but what if is this a possible reading to say maybe? No, okay. Can you
A
explain that?
resident Greek scholar.
Okay,
Yeah,
what's
just go. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, okay? I'm trying to understand what Nick's quote was there. So the verb denotes a sort of pre-construction, but it's not identical to a sort of theological determinism. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking at there. I don't
I think that
understand
word,
all the big
the
words.
word is pi poopa. Just kidding. Nick can come on and pronounce it for us, maybe. Come on, Nick, get
Yeah.
in here. Saved.
So yeah. So what I think it means is God was determined to save us through Jesus Christ. And is it correct to say, I don't know, my view is the death of Jesus had to expose all the depravity of humanity, which stretches from the rulers of this world to the religions and just the normal people, because we're all under the same, because it's either you're led by the politics or the religion or whatever it is. All human beings, we fall under that thing. Yeah. And so so I feel like the idea is, God, once people sinned, God decided to expose sin. So they got together and did what God had decided, that okay, I need people to see. I need people to see what sin will be like. So they all came together and displayed what God has said about sin and the world without him. So they condemned themselves in their act of killing an innocent person. They showed that their politics and their religion, and all their lives is all run around selfishness, and it is against other people. It's like survival. Is like Pilate said, I know he's innocent, but I'll have him whipped and then I'll release him. Right? If he's innocent, why are you getting beaten up? So the whole idea of the whole world was condemned at the cross because of what they did. And that's what God wanted, to show the world that it is condemned. That's why he said, if I'm lifted up, then, then the devil will be cast out. So that's the whole idea. So I don't know. So that's how I would read the passage, to say, this is what God wanted. He wanted us to see that the world is wrong. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah,
So
rather than God God desiring to, in this passage, to tell us that he determined all the evil stuff for his purposes. Like, that's not the point. How awful, how unfortunate to think such a thing.
yeah, but they're focusing on their salvation.
We don't worry,
That's
we know God's in control. No one's doubting that. Yeah, but if you don't believe that God determined every pooped pants and stubbed toe with specificity, then you might not. He might get mad at you and burn you forever. Jeez, sorry, I'm being a jerk.
Yeah. Look. Yeah. So I think they hold on to it for their salvation. That is, they're saying that they are saved. They know they are saved because it was planned.
I'm saved. Haha.
But you've got no assurance, right? So you've got no assurance.
I built my house on nothing less than Jesus Christ and his righteousness. Amen.
Yeah, but how do you know you won't fall away? So the only way you can know you
I
won't
know
fall
whom
away
I know whom I have believed, and I am persuaded that he is able to keep that which I have trusted to him unto that day. That's how.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but I think for them, that's why they hold on to it. They hold on to it for the positive side. I think we have to see that they're not holding it on. They're not holding on to.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, it's wrong though. But but I see their goal is to make sure that they have assurance. It doesn't matter if other people have the assurance of destruction, but they have the assurance of salvation, right? So that's okay. Yeah, but I did like what he said about studying about God is really useful and important. I think that's a really good takeaway to just keep in our pockets and do that.
I just disagree with everything, I guess. I don't see how a Calvinist has assurance. I don't see how I have the an opposite view. I don't see him as coming the incarnation to condemn the world. I think it was more like he came in to save it. This verse is a little hard though. It's not just foresaw. It's in 28. It's to do as much as your hand and your counsel conclusion foresaw to come to be. So it's a little tricky. I don't think you can dismiss it. You're gonna have to pry at it a little bit more than that, probably.
Oh, sorry. Can I just ask? You're saying you're disagreeing that the world was condemned at the cross?
No, I disagree with that statement. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think? What do you think? Do you think there was nothing condemned at the cross?
I mean, there's that one where it says the ruler of this world, but I don't know, probably not. At least not for humanity, because Paul says that the world was condemned by the law and their conscience is where the condemnation comes from, and also he says that all men are condemned in Adam is where the origin of condemnation is, according to Paul. And Jesus came not to condemn, but to redeem or save.
Oh, okay. So you're thinking about human beings. I'm talking about systems. Did you get the difference? I don't know if you get that difference. So to say that the way of politics is exposed on the cross, right? And the way of religion is exposed on the cross, as we see the sinfulness of it all. The whole thing that's crafted there, the way Jesus died, we see the sinfulness of the kingdoms of this world.
No, I think we already had that idea way long before that. I think the cross is more about reconciliation.
What about the devil being cast out? Doesn't it say when Jesus is lifted up, the devil will be cast out?
Yeah, but I mean, like he wasn't condemned until then, or we had no like realization of it until the cross. Like, that's
Revelation 12
strange.
suggests that Satan, in some sense, is cast down even more at the
Yeah,
Son.
At the cross.
yeah, I know. That's already. I
So
already said, yeah. Like, there's like those references towards Satan,
but do you see any other point where we see religion being exposed? Well, anyway, maybe I shouldn't pull it too much. It just depends on your starting point, I guess. It depends on where you start with the cosmic conflict, what it's about, etc. For me, God is aiming to expose the whole world as
You
running
can
on a
deny the
mission.
cosmic conflict if you want, but you can also, you're probably a chooch if you do, because it's clearly what the theodicy of the Bible is teaching. It's just undeniable.
That's right, yeah. But Nick said change the subject.
Okay. Would Ellen White have voted for Trump, in which she served on his faith office at the White House?
You tell us.
Let's see. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. But you never know.
You never know.
Yeah,
It's such a different context, right?
If she was Catholic, at least we could ask her, because she would be in heaven, and then we could ask her.
Yeah, too bad she's dead.
That's right.
That resurrection, she's gone. She's sleeping in Jesus.
Yeah,
I
so I don't know.
I came across a subreddit where a bunch of people were teasing SDA, an SDA person that commented, and he said that Ellen White is the SDA's Mary. Like, oh my god.
That's right. That's right. That's right. It's not. There are some SDAs who look at it that way. So it's just a way of saying that we don't think when we read Ellen G. White, we just shut our brains, and whatever we read, that must be true. And I suppose that's what some people do. But yeah, that's how other
This
people.
guy. I never check with Ellen White before I teach anything, ever.
Yeah, it's not
I
necessary.
ever use Ellen White to teach anything. I never check with Ellen White before I say anything, ever.
Yeah.
So it's so annoying to me.
Is there anything you've read that Ellen White has written? I know she wrote a lot of stuff, but is there anything you've read where you're like, I don't agree with this? Like, anything come to mind?
Yeah.
Okay.
Her take on
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. So I think the way she dealt with saying that it's impossible that anybody would ever have babies in the eternal estate, and the reasoning she gave, I don't find it convincing. I'm like, she's like, because I made a video a long time ago where I was like, because of our view on the millennium and the eternal estate, I was thinking like, so when Jesus says in Matthew 22, like they'll be like the angels in heaven regarding the resurrection, he's like talking about the millennial period. When you go to heaven, there's no there's not fornication. There's no procreation in heaven. But on our view, once we get back to the new heavens and the new earth, and we're restored,
it becomes possible.
Seems like it would be possible again. She was arguing that's a dumb argument, and I thought it isn't a dumb argument. I think it's a good argument. I was saying, like, especially according to us, because we think you only go to heaven temporarily during the millennium. But before the fall, God made us to procreate on earth.
Yep.
So she believes that everyone's going to be resurrected without genitals, or everyone's going to.
No, I don't think she thinks that. I just think she thinks I think she would say after the resurrection, no one's going to have kids anymore. Is the idea? Is what she makes it sound like. But I was just from our view.
How invested was she? So this is how I deal with Ellen White. I go with how invested she is on a subject, right? If I read something in one place, I don't like. I just go, okay, right. So I want to see like 4 or 5 different scenarios where the same thing is being brought out, then I'll think, okay, that's what the person is trying to do. Because sometimes people say things and you never really know why they're saying what they're saying. But if you get like 4 or 5 different scenarios and very good solid reasoning, then you can say that makes sense. So that's how I would do with it. So at this moment, at this point in my life, I don't think that I don't see her investing a lot in the subject. So, but I haven't actually looked carefully. I would have to.
I
But
would take
don't
what she
really
said very
care.
seriously. I would just say, I don't need Ellen White to be infallible in every single thing she ever said.
That's right. That's right. That's
Open
right.
to
That's right.
interpretation anyways. Now, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
make that as a cop-out. I gave you an example. I didn't look really carefully. I've just seen the statement. Somebody brought it to my attention, and I was like, well, I care what she said. I think it matters. So maybe I'm wrong about this. So that's kind of my response to that. But I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm just like, seems like she's arguing that anybody who says that it's possible that you can have children in the eternal estate, they showed me that quote. It seemed like she's pretty staunch on like arguing against people who claim otherwise, like I was. And I kind of think to myself, I don't really care, I guess. I was like, I kind of feel the way I do about it. I don't think she's infallible. So, but I don't want to suggest that I don't think she's inspired. So whatever that means, I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
Now, Jamie, you're not a Calvinist?
No, I'm a Seventh
Oh,
Day
well,
Adventist.
a Calvinist.
I have bad news because it looks like Ellen White's husband was named James White.
I know. I have a story about that.
Well, James White was named after him.
Get this. Like a long time ago, I was looking for like a quote of her husband, and I came across James White, and I started listening to him. He almost convinced me to be a Calvinist. This is like 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
That's how I found James White. And I started listening to him. I started listening to Alpha and Omega podcast, and he almost convinced me of Calvinism.
Oh, I can't stand that guy.
Is Calvinism incompatible with being an SDA? And if so, how? Can you give an example?
Yeah, our view of the investigative judgment, the Day of Atonement, and our eschatology. If would never work with limited atonement.
Cosmic conflict, because we value cosmic conflict and choice, but in Calvinism, choice is not that important. God doesn't have to explain himself.
Mick, get in here and help us.
Well, God doesn't have to. God doesn't have to explain himself in Calvinism. He doesn't have to. He may choose to, but he doesn't have to. In Adventism, God. So in Adventism, we view God as no one is making him explain himself, but God wants to explain himself. For us, that's a huge it's a huge deal. So the humanity of Jesus is not simply to save us per se. It's also God wanting to be near us. So to us, it's really important for God for us to know him as he is in terms of his character. So and he wants those questions, but in Calvinism he doesn't want those questions. Well, he doesn't want those questions. Yeah, so that's a big difference.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think when Ellen and James White had children, I think her husband probably said, "Oh, as soon as the children born, they were like, don't worry, little Jimmy, you're already depraved."
God hates
Anyway,
this.
let's do another topic.
Okay.
My bad for bringing that up.
Oh no, that was cool. That was really nice. I hope that answered you. I hope we've answered.
Oh yeah.
I'm taking questions from the audience, so go ahead. Tag me with your questions. I'm the Bible answer man. I'm
You're
the
right.
admin Bible answer man, so I'm here
Taking
for
over
your,
Doug Bachelor's spot.
yeah. I called in there like a month ago and I brought up that thing about, I was like, hey, why can't we have kids in heaven? Or I mean, in the eternal estate, if we're going to come back to earth and and God had us procreating before the fall. Like, think about that.
Mm-hmm.
God had us having children before there was fall. And if we believe in a theodicy of love and God wants to extend the family by making image bearers, why would I think the Mormons are onto something?
So hold on a second. Hold on. Right? Didn't well, I guess depending on your reading of Genesis, didn't God
I'm going to
command
make babies
humans?
forever, whether you like it or not.
Did he command Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply? He commanded them to do that, right? So by them not being fruitful and multiplying before the fall, that means that they broke two commands. Every day they don't multiply and be fruitful. Guess what? You're breaking God's command, right? I'm asking a trollish, but I
mean,
asked that I
there's
asked
only,
the question because I was engaging in a conversation with a young Earth brother, and um, you know, he was attempting to account for all the other people that existed at the time when Cain left the garden, and he kind of made an argument from silence about Adam and Eve having other kids, and outside of Cain and Abel and Seth, right? And I'm like, well, it doesn't say that at no point in the narrative, right? But even if I grant you that, they didn't start actually reproducing until after the fall. A matter of fact, one could argue that they didn't even know sexual attraction until after the fall. They didn't. I mean,
no way.
No way.
No way. Because
No, they knew. They knew. Because
that was part of the point
God,
of naming the animals. He saw them together and they had a pair, a mate. People will say weird stuff about that. The idea there is that Adam's supposed to like get the idea that he needs a helpmate, and then not that like, oh, look at these animals. Why don't you try them on for size or whatever? It's like, no. They see that he's naming them and he sees that God's intention, and then God's like setting him up for this woman. Oh.
Right. They had the passions. They had the passions because, passions come from the organs, but they didn't have what are known as the corporeal or irascible passions, which ultimately come as a result of concupiscence, which is, evil desires which come from the fall. The fall is where I think the fall is where lust came from. It's not where sexual attraction came from.
Can you repeat that? You said a bunch of words. I don't even know the meaning of those
Yeah, I know.
words,
I
brother.
apologize. I'm using a lot of Thomistic eschatology here. But yeah, so basically, what Saint Thomas Aquinas would say is he would say Adam and Eve did have sexual attraction before the fall, but they didn't have lust. Remember, sexual attraction is a natural inclination to someone. Whereas lust is essentially a satisfaction of a desire. So if a person is
selfish,
inclined,
self-gratifying,
right, exactly. It's essentially a satisfaction. Like if I kind of think of it like with anger. Like if I see some horrible tragedy in the world and that makes me angry, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's right that I feel that way. But if I have like an unnatural angry desire, like if somebody like punches me in the face and I get angry, and then that's a satisfaction. So he talks about desire versus natural. satisfaction. When it comes to sexual attraction, men and women are naturally attracted to each other, which means that before the fall, sexual attraction existed, but lust came after the fall, and that was a result of concupiscence, which were the evil desires that came after the fall.
Hold on. So you're kind of making my point then about them breaking God's command by not reproducing before they ate the fruit.
So you think it was like a command to like always be engaged in like reproduction? It wasn't like a get around to it when you can sort of command.
Hey, listen, when you put it that way. Okay, my perspective on this is a little bit more simpler. I don't think the concept of reproduction was necessarily a thing for them at that point in the fall. I think what you guys describe is just them expressing like the first type of love, like romantic love. By nature of them kind of like noticing their nakedness and seeing the embarrassment that comes from being naked. Now, I understand there are other theological implications behind that, right? But I'm just saying, in lieu of them noticing their nakedness, and pretty much, when they left the garden, right, they copulated pretty quickly, right? I think that's really when they 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 really the urge to reproduce really kicked in. I think that's when it happened. It's really after the fall, because I do think Pseudo makes a good point. Like the only difference is that I think there's some lust that's tied to reproduction. I think, or maybe it's because I'm kind of conflating lust and attraction, or thinking that it's kind of like one and the same. Lust and sexual attraction, I should say. But yeah, I don't have a super strong opinion on this. This is just me throwing dumb questions at Jamie.
This is the point. Making children is good. Making more image bearers is good. God wanted that before the fall. They didn't have to fall. He gave the command before the fall. So the intention. So I want to say, if you start trying to backload in there, like, well, he only had to procreate because he knew they were going to fall. No, I don't think we should think that way about it.
I don't think so.
God saw the fall coming, maybe, but I don't think you can. I don't know how to backload the idea that, well, the only reason you have them procreate was because they're going to fall, and then are you really going to say like making babies is bad? I don't think so.
Making it out of marriage is bad.
It's like,
well, I mean, God wanted them to procreate because
he loves babies. He loves
it was his plan of
babies,
creation.
all babies, yellow ones, black ones, red ones, white ones, and he loves them, all the little children of the world, black and yellow, red and white, all are precious in his sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world without exception. They're all precious, every one.
Right. Right. That was his plan of creation.
God didn't love the Nephilim. Sorry, bro.
They're not human.
Well, God didn't like
you didn't say human babies. You said babies.
Jamie, hold on. Jamie, do you go with Michael Heiser?
God didn't like the Bruce Springsteen fans.
Okay. I was saying, so do you go with Michael Heiser that they were not human? The Nephilim, they were sort of hybrids?
I can go either way. I roll both ways on that.
But the Israelites married them.
Dude, I go back and forth on this, so I don't know.
Any Book of Enoch enjoyers? You know what's funny is, and I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to be a little bit funny.
The Book of Enoch is not legit, but go ahead.
I was going to move past that. It's just like a funny thing to say. A verse to chew on is where it said that Eve craved the apple pre-fall, which is maybe something
Yeah.
to think about for Batman with his fixation on the passions.
Hey, don't judge me, bro.
No, you're good.
If you try to make Enoch canon, you run into some major problems with what everyone accepts as legitimate scripture, because for one, it endorses a 364-day year, like the Book of Jasher, which is also not accurate, and it conflicts with the Protestant canon.
But
Like
but
in a
but but
serious way.
Saint Jude the apostle mentions Enoch. And
I'm not
my
saying I'm
favorite
not saying it has no
conspiracy-
value. I'm not saying it has no value, but if it can't be right and also right with the actual way the Jews kept their calendar, because it claims to have every year has 364 days in it, and that's just not tenable scientifically or historically.
But my
So
favorite
maybe.
conspiracy theorist YouTube channel said that it's canon scripture and that Christians just tried to hide it.
Yeah.
But like with the Gospel of Thomas, it's just like that.
Such a dumb argument.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets quoted in the New Testament canon. In
Well,
all your canons.
well, it quotes the Baal cycle too, and it quotes quotes a bunch of stuff that doesn't validate the whole source of which the quote comes from. It's just
First
like
Enoch or second Enoch?
Well, you have a better case with First Enoch, but it's false because of
Second Enoch is definitely false. I think you can.
Oh, show.
You can actually. The last time I was looking into it, the impression that I got based on my research was that it was actually written by Pharisaic Jews to counter Hebrews, because a lot of the stuff that's written in there, when you compare it when you read Hebrews, it's basically to counter a lot of what Hebrews actually says.
Jewish Christians didn't want Hebrew. I was just going to say, historically, Hebrew Christians didn't want Hebrews in the canon. They're like, don't put that in there.
Hebrews causes a lot of problems for a lot of theology. Seems like.
I mean, not for me. Hebrews is one of my favorite books.
Not for me. Yeah.
It shows it kind of shows like a lot of the shadows in the Old Testament, and makes sense of a lot of stuff in the Old Testament in regards to redemption and Jesus's role, why the temple exists, the significance behind them. Like a lot of that stuff is talked about in Hebrews. I don't know. That's part of the reason why I think it was like Paul that at least narrated it, because at least from what I remember about Paul, he's like the most educated out of all of them in regards to Hebrew scripture.
Quick break. I'm going to go ahead and stick this link in the chat, and this is a must-watch. Amber and Nick on my friend's channel, Faith Unaltered, talking about the Ecclesia. Gotta watch that. So sit down your to-do list.
Cool.
His beard isn't saved.
Yeah, his beard is lost for sure. It won't be resurrected in the coming age, but.
Did Jesus have a beard? Because then all beards would be consubstantial with Jesus and in conformity to his death, burial, and resurrection.
Oh, snap.
Which
this guy actually presented an argument, bro. Howdy, I don't like you, bro.
which counters limited atonement, because if Jesus only died for the elect, he's only consubstantial with the elect in his conformity with death, burial, and resurrection. So what is the explanation for why the reprobates are resurrected in the eschaton if he's not consubstantial with them, when it says that life is, when the mechanism of action for that?
You're not saved.
No, but how are you resurrected if you're not consubstantial?
That's what she said. Hey, Josh.
Didn't say that.
We'll let Josh answer your question. I have a question on the book of Enoch as soon as it's done. So my question is, when was the book of Enoch written? Are we saying it was written after the book of Hebrews?
No, just the second part, because there's like 3 books of Enoch, and
Right.
so
And it was
Enoch
only
probably
written.
written in 250 BC.
Yeah. I was going to say, I believe it was written only a few hundred years before the time of Christ. And that would, I think, further hurt its credibility because it claims to be a book written by the biblical Enoch. But the biblical Enoch was alive at the beginning of the time of the earth. He was alive during Genesis times. So is it like a Gnostic work now? Is it, oh, I heard that this guy who's dead said this, and here's the book we wrote about it? I mean,
We know it wasn't written by the real Enoch, and that's a problem because
I mean, I think it makes sense because like Moses was the one that wrote that wrote the first books of the Bible. He wasn't around for creation and all of that stuff, right? And what
true,
happens?
true, but Moses never claimed to be someone else. Like, it wasn't like Moses wrote the book of Genesis and said, "This is the book of Adam. Here's my experiences." Like, Moses writes the book of Genesis from the perspective of a man who has received divine knowledge and is transmitting that through the pages of Holy Writ. The book of Enoch is written from the narrative of, I'm Enoch. Here's all the stuff I saw when I went to heaven. That's from the perspective that it's written from. And so when
Yeah,
it comes to say, um, when it comes to say Enoch, or when it comes to say Moses, you don't have to say, well, you're a fraud, Moses, because Moses isn't claiming he was an eyewitness to those events. He's claiming to have received that knowledge from divine revelation, whereas
yeah, but
Enoch is
mhm.
claiming, the book of Enoch is claiming it's a personal account,
yeah,
which
it's
I think
Enoch.
Yeah,
creates
it's a
more
yeah,
problems.
but you
And
can't you can't you can't apply that standard. You can't apply that standard unequally, right? Because a large portion of these stories were orally passed down, right? A lot of them were not written down, right? The Genesis story, that's orally passed down. The genealogies, a lot of that stuff was orally passed down first. They didn't write all of that stuff down, right? And so it makes sense that the story of Enoch, I'm talking about the first book, right? It makes sense that that would be something that would be orally passed down and like rewritten just like everything else so it could survive whatever destruction or whatever stuff that they went through.
Imagine being the orator of numbers.
Jeez, bro.
Why do you guys think that he's doesn't refer to himself in the first person in the Pentateuch? Is it just like for consistency, like
Ooh,
narrative consistency? Moses.
I
He
think he
doesn't say
didn't
like
write.
in
I mean, probably.
Maybe
I don't
he
think,
wasn't responsible for the writing of the final
yeah,
edition of the book.
because he didn't write the end of Deuteronomy. Like when he died, clearly it
you
wasn't
mean he
him.
you mean he didn't write it after he died?
Yes,
Yeah.
he was dead because at that time he was still asleep.
But no one really dies. They just teleport to somewhere else. Maybe he
I don't
ghost wrote.
know, man.
Maybe he ghost wrote it.
Michael and the devil fought over a dead body, Moses' dead body. So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so
those
we say that was a resurrection. So we say that was a resurrection.
nah.
he got saved.
Why is that bad? Why is that bad, Batman? Like that's not a bad argument. Like
I mean, I think Moses. I think Moses um is one of the few people who actually experienced a resurrection and is in heaven right now. If he wasn't, I don't think he would show up at the something emanation. I
The
can't remember the
transfiguration. Yes, yes, yes,
transfiguration.
exactly.
I
So
don't
that's
think.
why
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't
So
think
that's all
Jesus
those.
was showing them ghosts.
Yeah. So that's why we say Jesus is Michael, because that's a resurrection day that you're witnessing. So that's what we say in Jude. We say Jesus is Michael. That's why he was resurrecting Moses, taking him to heaven.
I wouldn't go that far, but
What's wrong with that? Why did you want Jesus to be Michael?
So Jesus is
because
consubstantial with angels.
he
What
can
do you mean
appear as an
concept?
angel. Like he has appeared as an angel, like the angel of the Lord.
Yeah. So we're saying the angel of the Lord is Jesus,
Why are
and
we
his
saying
name is
that?
Michael.
Oh, 1 second. Hold on, guys. 1 second.
Okay.
Yep.
Hold on. 1 sec. 1 sec. 1 sec.
Okay.
Hey, Terry. Good to see you.
Hi.
Hi,
What were you saying?
Terry.
How's everyone
Grand
doing?
entrance. Grand entrance. Grand entrance.
Suppose I wasn't expecting it, but
You're right.
you know.
Yeah. Okay. Back to Michael. So, what's your problem, bro? Why can't Jesus be Michael?
So so for me, I would have only accepted that if Michael was merely a title that would be like associated with a role that Jesus had, right? And
So that's what we're saying. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't see that, and like I see issues in Daniel where like I see three individuals instead of just two. And also I don't remember what in Revelation that I had a problem with as well. But yeah, I think Michael is a prince. He is the prince that watches over Israel, just like all the other nations, right? I think Jesus is the Yahweh that rules over Israel and the everything, right? Because he was given that portion by the Almighty, the Most High, right? Um, so the ultimate owner of everything is Jesus, but Michael is the prince that's there to protect them.
Can you see in the Bible where Michael is given instructions by anyone?
No,
Yep. That tells you he is
I
God.
don't remember.
Yeah. Because nobody tells Michael what to do in the Bible.
Nobody.
That doesn't necessarily mean that he's Jesus, because there's no scripture that says that no one told him what to do.
Well,
You
it's
gotta give me
one
more than
point.
that, bro.
Well, you got to take one point first. Like it's a scoreboard, right? That's 1 point. It's 1 point. Because every other angel is sent, but he's never sent. So that's 1 point.
Well,
Second point.
he wouldn't necessarily need to be sent if he's always there watching over them from like a spiritual warfare perspective. Because
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. I just read a comment by the Zealot Den. Can you show that comment, Jamie? It doesn't say that in the Bible. It doesn't say that Michael was sent.
So
It
that
doesn't say.
he was
Wouldn't that
fighting against the prince of Persia.
No one could resist. And
But no one
except
sent him. Yeah, no one sent him there. He went to help out and another angel that was struggling. So he went to help out so that the victory could be won.
I'm
I think it was
confused. How does this
Yeah.
argument work? Because like Jesus was sent, wasn't he? Like he says
Yeah,
it like
yeah,
multiple times.
that's true. But my point is Michael wasn't. So my point here is to show of all the angels in the Bible, Michael is never subject to being sent by anyone. So my point is he is God. So when we say Jesus was sent, this is in the incarnation. So that's understandable.
I mean, he was sent before he incarnated in order for him to incarnate in the first place.
Yeah. So that was in agreement. So that was in agreement. It's just a point to show that, like with any other angel, you can show they were sent. This is the only being that wasn't sent.
I mean, I understand like his authority. Like I make like I think it makes perfect sense. Like at least Revelation makes that very clear. I think the significance of him being the one to secure Moses's body, considering Moses's role, right? And heavens know what the devil wanted to do with it, right?
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
you know, like it makes sense. He's been like he is the prince. I don't. I think by nature of him being the prince and him being a creature, like he was assigned a task, just like all the other princes over all the
But
other
you're
nations.
saying he's a creature. I'm saying he's not a creature. So you have to establish from the Bible that he is a creature. You can't
I
assume
mean,
that.
okay.
So it's
Let
better to
me.
start with the assumption that every character in the Bible is God rather than them not.
No. Michael. No, with Michael in the book of Daniel, he's introduced in chapter 10, and there's
But
7 descriptions. Hold on, I want to make this point. With Michael, he's introduced in Revelation, so in Daniel chapter 10, and at each step, his rank increases until finally he's revealed as the one who stands up, which means to rule, right? Is the one who stands up, and then resurrections happen. So you have to prove the opposite for him. You have to prove that he's a creature, because anytime he speaks exactly like God. So you can't
what times have
say.
Michael spoken?
So in Jude chapter 3, and the roles that he's given, they're Jesus roles. Defeating the devil, that's a Jesus role. Fighting the powers, like leading the fight against the powers, that's a Jesus role. Watching over Israel, that's a Jesus role. So all these things, they show, like if you read through the book of Daniel, you can see Jesus is Michael.
Yeah, I see. That's the problem. I see 3 individuals in Daniel. I don't see 2.
I do.
Let
What are
me
you
see
talking?
here.
Which part of Daniel are you talking about?
So you have the man who's like a son of man, right? Who orders Gabriel around, right? And you have Michael. Those are 3 separate individuals.
How do you know they're separate individuals? How do you know the man and Michael are 2 separate individuals?
Because for one, he described the Son of Man a particular way, right? And whenever he's in the presence of the Son of Man, he reacts a particular way, and the Son of Man has authority, right? And it doesn't show that the Son of Man was fighting any battles.
But
The Son
isn't
of
the Son
Man
of
was
Man the one who
basically
fights all the
ordering,
battles?
huh?
Isn't the Son of Man the one who fights all the battles? Doesn't God say this is the battle is not yours, but
No,
mine?
no, the Son of Man is not the only one that fights all the battles, because like in Revelation, clearly other angels fought, right? When the devil was booted out of heaven, the other angels fought.
Yeah, but the leader was God, right? The leader was Michael.
I mean, the leader was God. I don't know about a leader being Michael. Like, you have to establish that it's Michael for me to agree and say, well, it was
Yes,
Michael, the
that's
God
right.
that do
That's
it,
that
right?
is that
Like,
is
you can't
that's
make me.
absolutely fair. That's fair.
I can't-
So let's so
so
what how much
actually,
evidence is enough? How much evidence is enough evidence?
I mean, I don't know. This isn't something that
Yeah,
I
that's
look
right.
too
That's right.
deeply
That's right.
into.
That's
I
right.
discussed it.
So
I discussed it with Jamie before briefly, but I
yeah,
never
so let's
really
do it.
looked
Let's do
into
it
it.
some more. So
All right, hold on.
in Daniel, every vision ends with the kingdom of God, right? But the kingdom of God is established by the Messiah in each of the visions. So in the last of the visions, when the kingdom of God comes, when there's resurrections, the only figure to appear there is Michael. It's nobody else. So if you just correlate the visions, you can see that. So that means Jesus is Michael.
All right, hold on one second.
Do you get it? Like in chapter 7, let's do chapter 7 because I know you like chapter 7. The Son of Man is Michael, right? In chapter 7, the Son of Man is Michael, and he's the one who actually causes the victory, right?
Daniel,
In
hold on.
Daniel 7.
Okay, hold on. I gotta pull it up.
Okay, so when you're ready, let me know. That's right. Look at that comment there. Michael and his angels. Michael has angels. The devil
His
has
angels?
angels. Michael and his angels. That means that Michael owns some angels. Okay. Michael can look at angels and say,
But
those are,
his angels.
yeah, he can say, those angels over there are mine. That's what Michael can say. Okay. He's got his own angels. Right. I think it's fairly clear. Like if you do all the
Looking
ties in the
at
Bible.
two things here. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Take turns now. We're all adults here.
Yeah, and somebody else can speak, I guess.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Sarap wants a piece, obviously, but
Hi, everyone. Can I say something?
sure.
See, when Jesus died on the cross and he went to heaven, the angel fought with Michael voluntarily when they saw the character of Satan. God never told the angel to fight, but when they saw the character of Satan, they fought with Michael. Michael and his angels. All the angels belong to Michael. So Michael, when he goes back to heaven, he's called Mike. Michael is called Jesus. Jesus is Michael. um, for us, he's Jesus, but for the angel, he's Michael. So
Yeah, there you go.
Michael is the head of the angels. He's the head of the angels. He's not an angel. If you go and read Stephen, he says, the angel in the wilderness on the mountain spoke with Moses. That angel was not a regular man. It was Jesus before he became a man. So when Jesus went back to heaven, the angels fought with him voluntarily because they saw that's when he was kicked out of heaven, Satan. So
Okay, somebody else wants to comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's just someone wants to say something.
Were you saying something, Silas?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay, my bad. Go ahead. You guys can argue. It's fine. Just be nice. I don't care.
Well, we're waiting for Batman. He was looking up something.
He dropped something. He's trying to get his papers together, and he's.
No, I'm
Yeah.
reading Daniel, and I'm reading something else that he brought up.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. So yeah, I think from Daniel alone, you can show that Jesus is Michael. It's almost like from whichever passage you look at, you can show that Jesus is Michael. There's no passage which doesn't tie him to God. All the passages in the Bible that talk about Michael end up with you looking at God. So it's strange to me that people can't see it, but I guess maybe if you want to see something, you see it. So I want to see him as Michael, so maybe I'm seeing him everywhere. But it's very strange that people can't see it. It seems so clear to me. So have you got something, Batman?
No, not yet. I'm reading through the whole chapter to get to the part that you brought up.
Or Daniel 7?
Let's see. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think Jesus, like, he is the prince over Israel. So, like, the prince of the covenant is Michael.
That's
you know?
right.
And so, like,
and
that's
this whole
Jesus, like, with over Israel until he incarnates. That's what it seems like to me.
it says the Lord. It says the Lord is the one who watches over Israel. That's what the Psalms say. All the Psalms say the Lord is the one who watches over Israel. And Daniel says Michael is the one who watches over Israel. So it's the same thing. It's the same
When
person.
Michael stands up, it'll usher in the time of trouble. Like, what's he standing off from? A throne in heaven. What? In the new covenant, once the new covenant comes, and that's looking forward to the second coming of Jesus,
right.
Daniel 12. And then that's like, who's on the throne in heaven? Like, that when he stands up,
it
ushers in the end of time and the resurrection from the dead. And then it's in Philippians 4 and John 5, it's very clear. Whose voice raises the dead? The one who's sitting on the throne.
Like in Daniel chapter 11, you got all these kings standing up and people dying all the time. Like one king stands up, people die. Another king stands up, king of the north stands up, people die. Another one stands up, people die. Then Michael stands up, people come to life. So it's clear. It's absolutely clear. Jesus is the one.
The resurrection and the life.
That's right. Jesus is the one who brings it all together.
The one who comes as the Prince of Israel to call back the humans, who becomes a human, and then it's ascends to the throne in heaven as the God man, the kinsman redeemer. And when he stands up, it ushers in the end of sin and death by raising them from the dead to be judged according to what's written in the books.
Okay, so 7 it's talking about Michael. It's talking about the Son of Man. It's not describing Michael. The Michael name wasn't used there, so I'm gonna check the other chapter.
No, that's you're correct. You're correct, Batman. You're correct. You're very correct in what you're saying. There is no word Michael in chapter 7, but there is Son of Man.
It's the same reason in Daniel 10, and that you have Michael, who's like an angel, also described as a man. One man says to the other, it's ambiguous. But then you also have the man in linen and people say, oh, see, there's the man in linen. That's Jesus, because it's got the same description as in Revelation. And I'm like, yeah, of course. And then there's also this other figure, Michael. Look further, they can't be the same person. No, that's a vision of the incarnate Christ who's overcome. And Michael is actually interacting with Daniel in time in the record of Daniel in vision. And then he also sees a vision of the incarnate Son of Man, who is the Mare man. He's also the one which the Mare is associated with the 70 weeks, which is what describes when Jesus will show up in his incarnated period. And then, but Michael's also there too. So it's not either or. It's a different representation. Michael is the actual person interacting in the context of Daniel's experience. In the visions of the Mare man and the man in linen, that's also used to describe Jesus as the risen God, is the risen incarnate Jesus in Revelation at the end.
So Batman, you're correct that there's no Michael it doesn't say Michael in chapter 7. You're correct about that. Right? But it says Son of Man, and we say Son of Man is Jesus. And then if you go to chapter 2, which is sort of like the same vision, It doesn't say son of man, but it says there's a rock, which then takes over the whole kingdoms. And we say that rock is Jesus, right? And then, so if you go to the last vision, it doesn't say rock, it doesn't say son of man, it says Michael. But the rock is Jesus, the son of man is Jesus, and Michael is Jesus. That's the consistent way of reading it, because there's nobody else who shows up. So, and then Stephen, it's time of trouble and Jesus standing up. Stephen was being stoned, right? He was going through a time of trouble. And he says, I look into heaven, I see heaven open, and the Son of Man standing up. In Daniel chapter 12, it says there will be a time of trouble, such as never was. And the Son of Man and Michael will stand up. It's the same thing. Jesus, every time we get into trouble, Jesus stands up because he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it. So it's wonderful. It's exactly the same person. It's the same. Once you see it, I don't know. Once you see it, then you can first see this, and then ask yourself, what's the battle about? Are they fighting? Are they kicking each other? Are they shooting each other? No, the battle that the devil is waging is to get us to distrust God. So the devil gives us ideas that lead us to distrust God. So God's counterattack is to present a clear view of who he is. And the leader in the revelation of who God is Jesus. He's the one commanding the angels and the church on how to represent who he is. He's the chief revealer. So he's the one who commands all the angels, teach this person this, teach this person that. They're all following his orders. So if it's a revelation, if the battle is about understanding and seeing who God is, Jesus is the only one who can lead that battle, because he's the only one. No one has seen God except Jesus. So no one can lead a battle in revealing who God is except for Jesus. So when you understand the battle and what it's all about, you can only see that it's Jesus. Maybe I could be wrong, but I can't see how any angel can lead that kind of battle. It can only be Jesus who can lead that battle. And that's why no angel can hold a candle to Jesus or Michael, because he is God. So what he does actually reveals what God is like. So it's like it's evidence on top of evidence. I don't know. So
All right.
yeah, I don't know.
So in Jude 9, right?
Yep.
It says
Open it, Jamie.
even the archangel Michael, when he was disputing with the devil about the body of Moses, did not
Yes.
himself dare to condemn him for slander, but he said, "The Lord rebuke you."
Yes.
I mean, that doesn't sound like someone that has the authority. Like,
is that because you said the Lord rebuke you?
no, he says that he didn't. It says here. Let's see. It says, but all right, let's just read from the top. It says, in the very same way, on the strength
Yep.
of their dreams, these ungodly people pollute their own bodies, reject
Yes.
authority, and heap abuse on celestial beings.
That's right.
But even the archangel Michael, when he was disputing with the devil about the body of Moses, did not himself dare to condemn him for slander, but said, "The Lord rebuke you." Yet these people slander whatever they do not understand, and the very thing they do understand by instinct, as irrational animals do, will destroy them. So I don't know, man. This doesn't seem to me like something that, I don't
Okay.
know, the boss
Let
would
me.
do. Like,
Listen to this. Listen to this.
Okay.
Listen to this.
So
If you remember my video on this, Zechariah 3, you have the angel of the Lord who says,
That's can you show Zechariah 3, Jamie? So
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's almost like exactly the same thing.
yeah. Give me a second. Let's do this. Let me because I do a side-by-side comparison in my little video.
Yep.
You guys want to see that? Let's see.
Yeah, show us.
Okay, give me a second. Take me 30 seconds here. Hey, Terry. Okay, so let me find it.
Okay. So Batman. So why does that make you think that Michael is not Jesus when you read that in Jude? What's
because
unimpressive?
It's implying that he doesn't have the authority to turn to not even like
What should
he doesn't have the authority to tell the devil to go away, basically. Like all he can do is just rebuke him.
Okay, so if he had said go away, then that would have made it okay to say Jesus is Michael.
No, yeah, if he had sent him away, for example, like that would be
Okay.
different. Not that I'm saying that, that ends everything. I'm pretty sure there's other stuff we're gonna look at. But
yeah, sure. I'm just waiting for Jamie to bring
convince me.
something. Yeah, that's okay. Just maybe Jamie can show us what he's got, because that passage is also tied to, like, it also shows the same thing. Yeah, can you show us, Jamie?
Okay, yeah. Let me make this bigger, I guess. Let's see. You see that? Okay. Real quick. It's not too long.
Chosen Jerusalem, the high priest standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. And the Lord said unto Satan, the Lord rebuke thee, O Satan, even the Lord that hath chosen Jerusalem rebuke thee. Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire? So I want to notice a couple things. Both passages have someone contending with Satan and saying the phrase, the Lord rebuke thee. And in Zechariah, we can see clearly this is Yahweh, capital L, capital O-R-D. Other thing to note, who's saying this to Satan? Well, in Jude, we have Michael the archangel. While contending, in contention with the devil, telling him the Lord rebuke you. And in Zechariah 3, we have the Lord himself saying unto Satan in contention, the Lord rebuke thee, O Satan, even the Lord. Yahweh says, Yahweh rebuke you to Satan. Jesus is Michael, the eternal Son, creator.
So the idea that you could argue, well, he's not fully rebuking him because he hasn't taken care of him yet by the cross. So like he's just saying it's not time to rebuke you yet, but the Lord himself in Zechariah says the Lord rebuke you. Yeah,
and also in Jude, it's also talking before the cross. It's also talking about thing before the cross as well.
Because it's talking about when Moses' body was resurrected, which is obviously prior, because Moses is there at the Mount of Transfiguration before the cross, because that's why he's there to validate and strengthen Jesus before he goes to the cross.
In other words, it's only Jesus and Michael in the Bible who say the Lord rebuke you. So there you go. So it's the same person.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Whenever Adventists make a point, they have a scripture behind it. Keep that in mind.
Yeah. So there you go, Batman. In Zechariah, you've got God saying exactly the same thing as Michael.
So so I guess my question would be, right, is he saying the Lord as in himself rebuke you, or is he saying the Lord the Most High rebuke you? Like,
well,
what is
in
he
both,
saying there?
In which passage? In Zechariah, it says
in
Yahweh
both.
said. It doesn't matter at that point
It just
because
says
it's the same
Well,
person.
it's Yahweh
matters.
saying Yahweh rebuke you.
It's Yahweh saying Yahweh rebuke you is the point.
And it's
No,
the
I
angel of
no,
the Lord.
but that's what I'm saying, right? Like the Most High is Yahweh, the Holy Spirit is Yahweh, the angel of the Lord is Yahweh, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
I understand that, right? But if it's a situation where the Son, right, who's the angel of the Lord, is subservient to the Father, right? That means that the Father has authority over him. And so is it a situation where either in one or both of them, he's saying, you know, the Most High rebuke you, right? Or is he saying, I rebuke you?
But what difference does that make to Jesus being Michael?
Well, it makes a difference because an angel can say the Lord rebuke you, right? If he doesn't have the authority to do something, but he wants to rebuke the person, right?
I actually think in Jude, part of it is
Actually, I
about the
think we
way
can find this out. Hold on.
I kind of think in Jude too, though, he's talking about kind of the mode. He's
Yeah,
saying like, yeah,
it's saying don't be rude. That's what it's saying, right?
right.
I think that's what it's saying. It's saying don't be rude. That's what Jude is saying. It's don't be rude
I
because
think we
God
can
is never
figure
rude.
this out. Jude chapter 3, interlinear.
The reviling is
Yeah, the bad part there is
how
throwing
you
bad
deal with
accusations to
people.
someone.
How
Exactly.
you appropriately. It's about character. Really.
So our point here, Batman, is you can't say Yahweh rebuke you shows that the person is not God, because God himself says Yahweh rebuke you. So that's the point. The point is, say just because Jesus said Yahweh rebuke you doesn't mean Jesus is not God, because Yahweh himself
No, I
says
get it,
Yahweh
but
rebuke you.
you're making an argument with a presupposition, right? That both of them is Michael. I'm not approaching it from that. So what I'm trying to find out is
Yeah.
the answer to the question. Is he saying I rebuke you in both situations, right? Or is he saying, you know, the Lord rebuke you in one situation, and in another situation he's saying I rebuke you? Like that's what to me, to kind of parse out both of those scriptures, I think that's what we have to figure out.
Okay,
Okay,
so
well,
let's start
So-
in. Can you start? Let's start in
One
Zechariah first. If we start in Zechariah, I don't think you
I'll
could
pull it
tell.
up. Sorry, I'll pull it up. Let me pull it up.
I don't think you could tell, like in Zechariah, for example, whether Yahweh is saying Yahweh the Son rebuke you or Yahweh the Father rebuke
I
you or
think you
something.
can.
In Zechariah 3?
Yeah, I think you can, because the difference
Can you show us?
is the difference between like the English language and their language is that like they have what's the term again? Like these extra notes, so to speak, to kind of show whether or not someone is being possessive or if they're talking about someone else. Like it has these little things that you can use to kind of determine that.
Okay, let me
Okay.
just
Does that
say
make
one thing
sense?
real quick about that.
Yeah.
I think with Zechariah, like the distinction between the angel of Yahweh and Yahweh himself is purposely, there is no distinction. Other than that, there's more than one person. But it's Yahweh rebuking. That's all I'm going to say about that. I think you can distinguish that there's two persons. There's the Yahweh in heaven and the Yahweh who's manifested is the angel of Yahweh. And he speaks for Yahweh, period. It's Yahweh speaking when it's the angel speaking. And the angel
So,
is telling him that the Lord is going to, it's the Lord, the authority of the name that's rebuking. And that's represented by him speaking for and manifested.
Yeah,
That's
but
how I would read.
I wouldn't take that approach because like it would kind of buy into like the agency argument where 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 people would make the argument that the angel of the Lord is merely an agent and not Yahweh, where he's only like and there, I guess, like there are examples where you'll have that someone is speaking for God, right? I personally wouldn't take that approach to support that argument. I wouldn't use the agent approach. I would just say if he's saying the Lord as in I rebuke you, right? Like it to me it's clear. Like
So
it's clear as day.
yeah,
And I think it
yeah.
can be demonstrated.
So okay, so like let's do in Zechariah 3 there. Can you show whether he's saying I rebuke you or he's saying Yahweh in heaven rebuke you? How would you show that in Zechariah 3?
I think the only way to know is to actually like go back to we need someone who knows the original language to kind of denote like
Okay.
what it is saying.
Okay.
Because
What
that's
about this
It
question?
says, "The
because like
Lord
you can
rebuke you, Satan, the Lord who has chosen Jerusalem." He doesn't say, "I rebuke you." He just speaks from the name, the authority of the name.
Yeah, but
see. I don't
even
think
with
so. In
but hold on, Batman. I have a question for you. My question is in Zechariah 3, would you say the person that's saying Yahweh rebuke you is not Yahweh? In Zechariah
no,
3.
I think in Zechariah that is Yahweh. He's saying I read that as him saying I rebuke you because he's doing the job of you know preparing Joshua, right? He's the one that is removing Joshua's iniquities, right?
Yep.
He's all of that stuff. Like that part that makes sense to me. That's how I read that. It's the
Yeah.
other part in Jude that
Yeah.
I have trouble with.
Yeah. So,
So I read that
do you realize why
as
we're using
an
this one?
agent. Hold on. I read that as an agent, an angel operating as an agent,
Yeah, that's
rebuking the
because
devil.
that's because you don't believe Jesus is Michael, right? But if you read
Yeah,
Jesus,
I'm not operating
I
from that
understand.
yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. So, but
So
if
that's
you
what I'm
change
saying.
that,
I need to confirm that
Yeah,
particular,
yeah. But
we
hold on.
agree with you,
statement.
though. We think that this is Yahweh. We think Michael's Yahweh in that sense, right?
That's
So
what we're saying. So what we're saying is, if you took the view that, so the point is, if you just had the view that Jesus was Michael, then you would read Jude 3 exactly the way you read Zechariah 3. Do you get the point?
I don't have to do that.
No,
That's
I'm
what I'm
just
saying.
saying in theory,
In theory, yeah. And
yeah,
Frank, if Michael is just a title, like another title, I don't have a problem with that. This is not something I would like, like destroy my whole theology or anything like that, right? But
yeah,
like just like every other position that I hold, in scripture, right? Like it's something
yeah,
that I took the time to flesh out.
hey
Right?
man,
I'm
which
not
is
going to hold on
amazing.
to something.
if you need to have Jesus get help from some created being to raise the dead, that's fine, I guess. That's fine.
You
can I
didn't
say
say he
something?
raised Moses at that point,
If
bro.
you need some created being to help Jesus raise the dead, I mean, that's cool, I
Can,
guess. I mean,
can I
Yeah,
say something?
Because I would argue in the same way that that Joshua was taken to wherever the Godhead is residing, right? And he is obviously resurrected, right? And then he's cleansed of his iniquities, and in my argument, given a new body, right? Like that you know doesn't mean it has to happen at that particular time. That's not an assumption I ever made, to be honest with you, despite, I do believe that Moses is in heaven and he has a body.
yeah,
yeah,
I kind of think what's going on in Jude is he's partially he's like saying how he's condemning these people that speak nasty about everybody. And so I kind of think it's kind of like
Yeah.
the character thing. And it's like he's also looking forward to something that's going to occur in the future. How God is going to fully rebuke Satan is by what he does, like in the cross, right? He's going to expose Satan, that he never would have killed the Son of God if they'd known they were killing the Lord of Glory. and that how God brings salvation through the death of Jesus, which Satan incites in the people.
Mm.
And so it's kind of looking forward to that. Like, this isn't the time yet to fully rebuke Satan. There's a setup, and that happens by exposing Satan in the death of Jesus, maybe.
I think Sirap wants to say something.
Yeah. Let me say this. That in the Bible, do we see any place any regular angel resurrect anybody?
No.
We don't. So when Michael is coming, which is Jesus before the incarnation, he's contending with the body of Moses. He's coming to resurrect Moses. And Satan saying, you can't resurrect him. He's a sinner. But he's saying, the Lord rebuke you. Now, we read in the Bible, death reigned from Adam to Moses, right? Have you read that in the Bible?
That's
Well,
it comes
yes.
from, yeah.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Moses was resurrected by Michael, and we know only Jesus can resurrect the dead. No regular angel can resurrect the dead.
Yeah, only God can resurrect the dead.
So Jesus is God. Michael is Michael is the one
Yeah,
like
brother,
God.
but that the one scripture you're saying that he does that, it doesn't say it. I'm not gonna read that into it.
But we
Which
read
scripture?
we read death reigned from Adam to Moses. What does that mean?
So
Moses was resurrected and is in heaven, right? That's why you see him on the Mount of Transfiguration.
where can I find that? So there was some. So
You got smoke, bro.
I'm actually looking this up right now as we speak, and apparently Jude is quoting something from what is called the Testament of Moses.
Yeah. I don't think they have that. I think it's all speculation what it looks like. I don't think they have a full version of it. I'm not sure, but you let us know if they have a full version of it. From what I've heard,
now.
Yeah, but that was an interesting point, Sarah, what you said. That was I've never thought of that before.
Jamie, can
but
you
that
find that? Can you find that verse
What?
that reigned from Adam to Moses? It's in Paul
Romans.
writing.
Yep. Wow, I'd never thought of that before. Like, there's so many ties. It's interesting that there's so many things that you can tie to.
Sorry, hold on. I'm all flustered.
Okay, so apparently.
Jamie, can you show Shannon's comment?
Let's see.
Her last comment. The last comment says, "I think we're confused." I don't know. That could be possible.
Yeah, he is. He is kind of sketchy.
I
don't want to like.
I don't want to push it more than If it's too much, maybe we'll stop. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter that much.
No, I'm definitely gonna look into. I think that's really important. And that specific piece of scripture in Jude, and I guess this Jewish Testament of Moses that he's quoting.
Yep, but why is Jude using it? Is he saying, use Michael as your example here?
Yeah, what's the application of this text? I think it's about character.
That's what I'm trying. Yeah.
So just read it again, Jamie, because I think that it's saying, look at what Michael does. Do things this way. Don't be like these people.
We're out here like talking a bunch of poo.
Yeah.
In the way they the way they deal with people. The way they
because it's saying Jesus is. So I'm hearing it saying Jesus is your example here. Look at how he handles the sinner, or even the devil.
Yeah.
You take it this way. So if otherwise, it's telling us to take our example from angels. Maybe we should. Like in Peter, it actually used angels as an example. So maybe we should. But I think in Jude, it's actually saying, follow the example of Michael in how you deal with bad people.
Somebody read it. I can't pull it up right now.
Yeah. I think, yeah, you know,
He already read it. I mean,
Shannon,
that's what it says.
I
He
Yeah, we
says,
already
I
read
can
it.
bring a reviling accusation against them, but these brute beasts who are made to be caught and destroyed, who are lewd, and you can see the parallel in 2 Peter 3 too. It's like the brute beasts made to be trapped and destroyed. It's their character. When you compare it, it's like, because he goes on to say just how Michael didn't do that, didn't do it, didn't act, didn't bring reviling accusation, even though you might think he should or can, or that it's appropriate. He didn't. Unlike these people who do that and they act a fool by being, off the chain sort of thing. You like how I was all hip with my lingo there? For the kids. This is a cool Kids for Jesus stream. You know what I mean? He wasn't a real jerk about it. Didn't act the fool, right? Feel me?
Yep.
Need some backup here.
Okay, so it's
somebody?
in Greek. Do we know somebody that knows Greek?
Yeah, he's probably hog tying a kid right now, feeding him crumbs.
What? Bro.
Isn't that what you feed kids? You just. Where's Nick?
Yeah,
Look
definitely.
at
Harry's face.
I'm trying to make
He's
him
like,
smile.
bro.
Can we tackle this from another angle? What does ark mean? Ark, does it mean captain? The head captain? Okay, Jesus is the same, the captain of the Lord host, right? When he sees Joshua and the captain says, "Take off your shoes. You're standing on holy ground."
Yeah, Joshua 5.
See, Jesus and the captain of the Lord host is the same person. Michael and the captain of the Lord host is the same person.
Sure. I've already told him all this though, but look up the word reviling accusation and then see where else that word is used. It's really, that's what it's focusing on.
Jamie,
It's about,
if you look for that reigned from Adam to Moses, it gives
Oh,
you
right.
what verse it says that reigned from Adam to Moses.
Sorry,
Look up that one, and it shows you. I can't do it while I'm over here.
Okay. I'll have to look up. I've got to look up my lexicon here. But I'm looking up that one real quick. I forget where that is. I think it's it seems like it's Romans 3 or something. Romans 5. Okay. Romans.
Yeah, I think we've put too many things on the table, even though we didn't put all the evidence. I think we've put too many things on the table. Is that correct? I don't know, Batman. Do you think we've put too many things on the table in support
Nah,
of our view?
This is just two pieces. This is just two pieces of scripture, and I'm just trying. No, the other scriptures, they honestly they don't convince me, but these two in light of each other, right? These.
You mean
two
Zechariah
make
and
it
Jude?
a really, huh?
You mean Zechariah and Jude?
Zechariah and Jude, yeah, those definitely interest me, because I said
Yeah.
I don't have a dog in this fight.
Let's.
If Michael is just a title, just like another name for the son, it is what it is for me. It doesn't, it's not going to crush my whole theological world or anything like that. But if I want to, be right about something, then I got to make the proper due with everything else that I.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Look, I
don't really think you can prove it.
Why?
Jamie, I think you can prove this. I think that's too much.
Explicitly prove it. It never says it. Never comes out explicitly says it. But I guess
no,
maybe you can prove it
it doesn't have to.
No, I think it can be proved if there is something in the original language that denotes that, huh?
Right. I hear you.
Yeah, because that's what I was saying. The agency argument, I wouldn't use the agency argument for this. If I'm gonna stick and say, hey, the angel of the Lord is Yahweh, the angel of the Lord that that is depicted in both circumstances, right? If he's Yahweh, there's no need for him to appeal to the other Yahweh to rebuke the devil. You see what I'm saying? Like there would be no reason for him to do that. But in order to
Wait.
make that in order to demonstrate that, you have to show that he's not
No.
appealing to the other one
Oh.
because he's not an agent.
Oh, yeah. The way I read that sort of thing is, because I read it the same way you do. I think it is Yahweh, the other Yahweh, if you will. But when he appeals to the name, he's appealing to be what the single God is going to do, but I think he is the other Yahweh, as it were, or the messenger, in angelic form. He's Yahweh come down. He's Yahweh.
Because I mean, the last time
Yahweh's plan singular, which he is
the last,
one
yeah,
of.
because even the last time we spoke, right? Like an example that I gave to kind of to kind of bolster a point was when the angel of the Lord stood before Balaam with a sword drawn, right? And it's the same, and it's during the same time period
That
when
is
he
Michael.
appeared to Joshua with a sword drawn.
Yeah,
Right?
but
So I'm
you realize the linguistic.
see what I'm saying?
But dude, that is Michael.
Because he says, I am captain, I've come as captain of the Lord's hosts.
Yeah, so like in Joshua 5, that is the phrase attributed to the Prince of the Covenant in Daniel 8. And that is Michael because he is the one over the host or over Israel. So like the one with the flaming sword is Michael in Joshua 5, but he also accepts the worship only attributed to Yahweh.
What's the
Like
other
the angel
scripture
of the
again?
Lord. The angel.
It's Zechariah, right? Zechariah.
Yep.
I'm saying when you connect Joshua 5, that phrase
Daniel?
there is only in one other place, and it's Daniel 8. And he's the prince of the host over the old covenant and that's Michael. Through other linguistic connections like that are
and also like if you tie to the book of Revelation, where Michael leads the angels in battle against the devil.
Yeah, the
so he
captain
comes down.
So
yeah, he's the captain of
the
the host.
of the army of the host of the
captain of the
Lord of
army of
Sabaoth.
the hosts of heaven.
Yep. So that's Michael. So
it's the motif of battle, the battle motif sort of thing.
So it's like
here.
I don't know. Like the more I think about it, the more evidence I see. It's too much evidence.
Jamie, Romans 5:14, please.
Oh yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Nevertheless, death reigned from Adam to Moses, even over those who had sinned according to the likeness of the transgression of Adam, who is a type of him who was to come.
So we see it reigned, death reigned from Adam to Moses. That means Moses was resurrected. That's what that means. And Michael was resurrecting Moses, and only Jesus can resurrect the dead. So Michael is Jesus.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm not arguing from a presupposition. I can't approach this from a presupposition that I don't hold. And like the only thing that can convince me is like the connection between like these specifically two scriptures, right? Because I acknowledge that there's nothing to suggest, for example, that a archangel Michael, right, can't be the captain of the Lord's army and perform his duty as being the captain of the Lord's army while you have the angel of the Lord doing certain things. It kind of reminds me of in the angel, for example, that punished David, that killed thousands of people. It said the angel of the Lord, right? But it didn't, but because I've heard people say that that was the angel that that's
angel
the
of
angel of
death.
the Lord, like Jesus, right? Like, and
Okay.
it's not clearly, right? Um, damn, what's the other one again?
Passover angel of death.
Passover angel of death. They say that is Jesus, right? Or Yahweh, right? But to be fair, right, from what I remember reading, he said that, God said that he would be the one to take away the life of all the firstborns, right? But is it a situation where is it he himself, or is he using an agent to, to do his means like he did against David?
Interesting point. Let's leave
You
it
know?
there for now, and we'll come
Yeah.
back to this. We'll all go to our little
I
corner.
promise I'm gonna look into this, yo. I
We're gonna go to
promise.
our little corners, and we'll bring our arguments to the next time. I want to move on to.
Yep.
So I'll
Great
say,
points, by the way, gentlemen.
yeah, that's fine. You lost, and you're not saved, but that's okay.
Your mustache isn't safe.
Can I make one more point? Can I make one more point?
One more point.
Michael, to the angels appearing as an angel, God appearing as an angel. Jesus for us is appearing as a man. So when it says great is the mystery of godliness, God was manifest in the flesh, right? And it says he is seen by angels. Looks like until then, the angel never seen God in a way. When he appeared as a man, they seen him who he is. But before that, the angels looks like they only could see Jesus as Michael and not see the God that is a spirit. You can. I mean, it's kind of far-fetched, but when I read that, it looks like the angels only saw God when Jesus became a man. That's when they saw who he really was.
Could be.
I mean,
I don't know. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Are you
moving on.
talking in terms of? Yeah, let's move on. Yeah.
Moving
Okay.
on. Okay. All right. I want to ask Terry something. Terry, are you ready? So earlier today, somebody was like hammering this guy who we all know in the community that was like, who's struggling with alcohol. His name's Wilder. Yeah. So, and you're pointing out that a lot of people were just like, hammering him to death, and you're like kind of had to take a different approach, which I think is right. And I just wanted, maybe you could kind of talk about that for a second, and like about evangelism and how to approach people who are struggling, who aren't receptive to the love of God and all that. Like how do you think we should approach that sort of thing, and the pitfalls of some of the other approaches that other people try to take? Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I really appreciate what.
I don't know. I mean, I think maybe he listens to me too, just because I'm, nicer to listen to. I don't know.
Like other people were just like wanting to be.
Yeah, they want to focus so much on the sinful things that he's experiencing, or I see it as like the branches of his sin and his like issues. What's at the heart of it isn't the drinking, it's just a symptom of a much deeper issue. So like I'm trying to poke at that and get at that and give him some kind of sense that life is good.
Rather than just condemning
Because,
him.
he's passively suicidal, and a lot of people in that position are. So they've kind of resigned themselves to death or something. And my approach is to like kind of get at things, learn things about people, try to see their humanity.
Mm-hmm.
That's an individual there, and he was made in the image of God. And I think he had an experience of God when he was younger. So I'm trying to get at that, I guess, and get him to remember, God's promises for his life. So I don't know. I don't know. I get frustrated because I'll be trying to kind of get in there, and work
Build
with his.
rapport.
Yeah. And then some people will come in and like just hammer, and it's all like alienating. I don't know. It's people want to be seen. I don't know. I suppose. Yeah. Like
Hammering.
yeah, he wants to be seen for who he is, not like what he's struggling with,
Right.
But that's
So
all people.
should we just tell him God's gonna burn you forever? You need to just repeat after me this proposition, and then he's good to go, and then we could just and then let him destroy his life, and it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, I
don't know. Yeah, because he's like saying I'm after his soul. When I was arguing with the man about it, he was like, I'm after this guy's soul, and I was like, well, so am I. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know. It's upsetting to me, I'm trying to do my own evangelism, and when people also step in and try to like interrupt me when I'm talking to someone, it's frustrating.
Yeah, I was frustrated for you. I was appreciating the touch of a woman. And
Right.
What do you think, reversing that?
I mean, I think that too, though. I see a lot of trouble guys come into church sometimes, and like them just even being exposed to like women is so rare in their life. They're not, I don't know, their lives are just so male. It's like, I don't know. It just does something. It does give one something to wish for, hope for, or look to.
Yeah.
Is this a case of someone is this something that happened on your show, Tim?
Yeah, it's happened on my show, and it's happened elsewhere too, where I'm just trying to speak to someone, get to know them better. This gentleman was raised Catholic, so I was trying to ask him about like things he did as a child, and he was even reciting the Lord's Prayer, and this guy started interrupting him and telling him, that's not how you pray. You don't just say it like that. And it was just like, what are you doing right now? Like, he's remembering things he knows of the Bible. He's like
trying to find his way back home.
I know, I'm trying to help him find his childlike faith, and this guy is like being like this angry dad figure, and I'm like, he has a father, he doesn't need that right now.
Like you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I'm trying to be like, hey, remember when you were young and you knew about God and what he promised you, and what he still has for you? Like, I don't know, I'm just
It's why do you think people do that? Is it bad to ask why people do things?
Because their faith is all intellectual. Like, it's not a spiritual relationship they have with the living God. It's all what they know about God and what they think about God. So they're not like in the present moment and like thinking
how to help the person. Like,
well, yeah, or just like living, maybe you can't help someone, but the like thing you can do is like be human to them.
I like that.
Relate to them, understand them. God doesn't heal everybody's ailments. So like with that, how do you, but God's still there. Some of the most like deeply spiritual people I know or have known in my life dealt with all kinds of afflictions and sufferings, God's close to those people. And I believe God is close to him and he's angry with God because of his afflictions, you know, and he's blaming God. Anyway, so I think people like, or they get caught up like this guy grew up Catholic, the guy that was interrupting. So he has a lot of opinions about how he felt like he didn't get the faith upbringing he needed, like he didn't learn what he needed to know. So he just like rails against anything that's like, I don't know, what he thinks isn't right. Because it's, oh, that's not how you pray. Oh, you know, that's, you shouldn't take communion this many times. Or like, it's all very, like,
You're doing it wrong.
you gotta meet people where they're at. You can't like expect them to like, you know, like be caught up to where you're at. Like, so I don't know. I'm just, yeah. I tried talking with him about it, but I don't think he listens.
No, he probably thinks he's trying to help.
What did we read? We read like, what was that passage Cecil had me read last night? It was from 1 Corinthians, I think. Oh gosh. Yeah, Bruce didn't like it. Oh, I shouldn't have said his name. My bad.
You have love, you have don't without love, you have nothing. I think I brought
Don't
up.
say it anymore, or else he'll show up like Beetlejuice. Can I just say?
I mean, I don't dislike him. We have good conversations sometimes. Like, there's good in him, but like, I just feel like he, I don't know. There's like a soft approach. I don't know. Maybe there is a time to be more aggressive with people, but
Well, thank you, Terry, for for at least trying, because he's been, Wildheart has been through it for years now. There are times when he disappeared because he's in the hospital, and I've spoken to him, in person, prayed for him, try to give him advice, try to keep him up in good spirits when he's down. So, a lot of people have given up on him. Some people have given up on him and decide to kind of come back. What I try to do with Wildheart in this regard is that I try not to push it all the time. When I do speak to him, I just constantly encourage him that, listen, you can get better.
right.
Right? I'm praying that, because the last time he said that he was going to, he doesn't care anymore. He's going to just drink his life away or whatever. And that night, I prayed for him. So when I heard that now he's going to go, and, try to fix things properly this time, I'm celebrating. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. I think that's a good win for you. He's going to still be around long enough to where we can keep preaching the gospel to him, right? Hopefully he'll get an experience of you and accept that experience, right? And come back. And, that's what I pray for. I try and I pray. That's the most I can do. But I don't think they should take an adversarial approach to his issue.
How do you deal with people that don't want help too is another thing that's really difficult.
Well, I mean, the thing is, too, people kind of have to want help. You can't help somebody who doesn't want help. You just need to leave them where they're at. And I think that's the problem with the approach this other individual is taking, because it's like telling him what he needs to do, or like kind of offering him advice he didn't ask for, Nobody wants to be treated that way. People want to feel they have a free will,
Right.
That's
Even though
But
they
we
don't.
know the Bible says they don't have a free will. That's what the person who's going to say a terrible thing to that person is that we know the Bible says they don't have a free will. So I'm trying to help them see that they have no free will. You know, so I think that this is where theology harms people, because when you start thinking no one is saved unless they see things the way you see them,
right.
it leads you to abusing people,
Yeah.
especially also if you've got like the extra layer of, well, if I don't abuse them now, God is going to burn them forever and ever. That sort of puts more pressure on you to do whatever it takes, because if you don't do whatever it takes, then maybe God might also chuck you in hell with that person. So it's like one fearful person speaking to another fearful person, the blind leading the blind.
Right.
um it's like a disaster waiting to happen. So
Terry's sorry, go ahead.
oh, yeah, okay, yeah, so I'm thinking of the way Jesus treated people. Jesus was willing to say to people, well, if you don't want me, it's okay. But I think as Christians, we're not comfortable with that. We're not comfortable with saying, hey, if you don't accept this, that's fine.
Right.
We
But I mean,
almost, yeah,
yeah,
it's
all
almost
we
like
can
the
do
opposite
is,
between us and Jesus.
yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, you can't save anybody else. That's not your job, you know. The spirit of truth has to move on them.
that's right. That's right. And unless they want help, then
Mhm.
just let them be. And I
Yeah.
think we're
You
not
don't love
comfortable
them
with. Yeah,
anyway, you know.
yes, exactly. So there you go.
Love is a battlefield.
Spiritual
It is.
warfare.
It is. It is. It is. It is.
You have to choose to do it too. You can. You don't have to like everybody, but you have to love them. What do you think about that?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Because love is like an action.
It's a doing word.
That's how you give them status in their image bearing. Uh,
Yeah,
serve. You have to serve. That's what Jesus did.
that's right. That's right. Well, Jamie,
Mm-hmm.
thank you very much. I think I'm gonna go now. I think I've got other things to do. I think I better just bounce. But this was fun.
Okay.
Wish you well, Terry. Now, Terry, before I go, I have a question for Terry.
Oh,
Terry,
oh,
did you interview Tim Jennings? Did you interview Dr. Jennings on your channel or no?
Dr. Jennings? No.
No. Okay.
You're probably thinking of Rebecca.
Rebecca interviewed Dr. Jennings on the channel. Did she?
Maybe she was going to.
Was
Oh,
it?
okay. Okay.
No worries.
Well, that would have been cool if she did.
Because Terry and Rebecca were commenting on that video, I think, when I played it. So you might be
Oh, yeah.
mixing the two of them together. I'm not sure, but they both.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Because I wasn't really watching the video to see who was speaking. I thought
Okay,
it
yeah,
must have been
they were
Terry.
both
Yeah.
there. That's probably.
Yep.
Yeah, that was that
Okay.
guy who was. I was saying that stuff about sex and stuff about and you came on, Terry. I think, remember a while ago, right before I interviewed you. You popped on, but yeah. Anyway, well, good to have you, buddy. See you next time.
All right. Thank you very much, bro. See ya.
What's up, Terry? What are you eating there? What you got there? Cherries. Ooh, yum. I love cherries. Are they pretty ripe? Bing cherries or whatever? What are they?
I don't know what kind of cherries they are.
You eat
They're
the
pretty good. They're pretty good for cherries in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
They're
I
pretty
had some,
ripe.
I had some really good ones a couple months ago. Oh man.
And I'm drinking my sparkling cranberry juice.
Very posh.
I saw that. I was like, oh, dang, that sounds good.
You're always drinking some highfalutin.
Yeah.
What was that other one you had? It's like called Recess or something. Hey, Matt.
Yeah, it was like a sparkling water that had magnesium and adaptogens in it.
What is an adaptogen? I don't even know what that.
I think it's some kind of something that comes from mushrooms or something. I don't
Weird.
know. I don't know what adaptogens do.
I haven't
But
seen
it
it.
said it, so I was like, oh, I better get that.
I wonder where all your
You
people
think
are.
it's bad for your bones? Come on, don't say that, Rob. Come on.
Carbonated bad for your bones. What else is bad for your bones? Kinds of stuff. Hey, yo. Howdy, are you still
Well,
there?
I love my little carbonated thrills.
It's pretty good. I've never heard that. Bad for your bones?
I've heard some people say that. I haven't really looked into it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't always have carbonated beverage.
Terry takes like all these supplements. Terry's healthy.
I do take a lot of supplements. Well, maybe not a lot, but some really good ones. Speaking of which, I haven't taken my B vitamins.
Yeah, let's do that. B12.
Depletes calcium, really. But it's so tasty. There's B12 in it. It's a B complex.
Howdy, are you there?
Yeah.
So,
Why are you a heretic?
oh, speaking of why are you a heretic? That's way too abrasive right now. Why are you a heretic, Howdy? Howdy isn't even a believer. Are you?
Nah, unless depends on your. I guess it depends on who you ask.
Do you live your life as though God exists?
Well, I'm agnostic, so I don't. Makes no difference to me, I guess.
You know, the
Whether it is
original
or isn't the case.
The original idea of an atheist in the Bible, if you have, the fool has said in his heart there is no God, people never read the context. That is not people who believe the proposition God does not exist is true. Those are people who think there's no righteous judgment. They live as though God doesn't exist. They know it presumes that they know God exists in the Bible. Like nobody in the ancient world didn't think God didn't exist. Basically.
Well, SDA would like me because I've kept the 10 since my youth, like the rich young ruler, at least.
Nobody can keep them.
Do
No
you
one.
really think that ancient peoples didn't struggle with doubt? Or like that there weren't people who maybe didn't believe in God, who thought it was all rubbish? I don't think there's anything new under the sun. Like, you know what I mean? I'm sure there were atheists back then who like watched miracles unravel before their eyes, and they were just like, "What is going on?"
Well, I'm sure that's the case, but usually, like in the context of saying there is no God, it's really about. They called the Christians atheists, the early Christians atheists, because they didn't do sacrifices to all the gods. And so, in the ancient past, in that context of that psalm, it's really the Israelites turning away from the God that they knew existed. And they said things like, "Oh, we're good. God won't judge us. We're chosen," or whatever, stuff like that. If you actually read, I read an article on here about it, but I mean, perhaps. I'm not saying there's people who struggle that God exists, obviously, like literally. But
Hey, howdy. Do you think that the death, burial, and resurrection possibly happened?
I don't think it entails a contradiction if that's what you mean by possibility, like metaphysically, no.
I'm not even going that deep. Just whether or not it's something that you're convinced that like could be a possibility. Because a lot of people, obviously, um, a lot of non-theists um, would hold that it's not something that's possible, basically. So do you at least grant that it's possible?
I don't think it entails a contradiction. I mean, it's like obviously implausible. Like the thing with miracles is by definition they're like the least likely explanation. You see what I'm saying? So like the Humean skeptic would say like even if you've seen a miracle with your own eyes, the most likely explanation is that you're hallucinating or something. But I don't think I would be that strict. Like if I saw it, yeah, I'd believe. Or if, I had some direct revelation, then sure.
Okay. So like if it's so the way how I kind of look at stuff like that is not that I would make an argument ad populum from this, right? But the way how I kind of look at it is if like you have a bunch of random people who don't know anything about each other, like coming together, um, especially people who are hated within that society, like under normal circumstances, some people will not be affiliated with each other, right? They they become affiliated with each other through one man, just a regular dude who's a carpenter, right? Um, they witnessed a bunch of stuff. They did a bunch of stuff that under normal circumstances they would not be able to do, right? The guy dies, and they say he comes back to life. Now,
I can't hear you.
is it any better?
I think I can hear you now.
Anybody else having problems hearing me? That's Satan covering up your ears, bro.
All right.
I'm just saying, like the chances of like that many people who's experienced this person like literally die and come back to life um after like 3 days, and the 3 days is important. There's like significance behind that, right? And instead of like, because before when when he died, they cowered away like little cowards, and there's a woman that was brave enough to go and look after him, right? And so these cowardly men all of a sudden become brave and are willing to die for whatever they experience and the beliefs that came from that experience, to the point where where one individual in particular who hated those people, he has an experience and completely changes his life to the point where he travels to a bunch of places and talks about the message that the guy that he experienced and even the people that he himself persecuted. And it wasn't about the money or power because he didn't get any of those things, right? So the way how I kind of look at it is like, yeah, sure, it's highly improbable, um, that something like that could happen, right? But the impossibility of it is another thing. And I kind of look at this from the perspective of, okay, there's never a point in the Bible where you see a man raising himself from the dead, right? But yet still within the narrative, right? This dude goes and says he's going to raise himself from the dead. And then he does it. And then a bunch of people see him fly up to heaven on a cloud, which again also has, you know, significance on it, right? Prophecy stuff and stuff like that. So if you have a situation where you have all of these prophecies being fulfilled, and the guy saying that he's going to do stuff and he does stuff, and all these highly improbable individuals coming together, right? I think that's like a decent enough evidence to at least have fear. Not have fear, I mean faith, right? And the interesting thing is that you're not called to have knowledge of God, right? You're not called to have knowledge, you're called to have faith. So, what I'm trying to do is dispel the idea that you need to have this the same knowledge that you probably have that the moon exists, for example, or Jupiter exists, right? Like that's not the type of like belief or knowledge that's required for someone to become a believer, right? All you have to do is just have faith, and the scriptures, right? You've seen people where they don't have any other evidence outside of maybe hearsay that Jesus can do something, and they run up and they ask him to do something, and he does it.
Come on, bro. Believe already.
Yeah,
Yeah,
believe. Become a believer.
You have to.
well, I don't want to like get into like an argument or anything about. I don't even want to turn this into like a Christian apologetics. You know, I don't want to bring like my. I was talking to Daniel about this. It's like people really shouldn't mess around with theology. Like like it's sort of like you're taking. I don't know, like leave it to the church sort of thing. After that, I've been feeling a little bit uncomfortable talking about stuff like that.
Ooh,
Well,
when
I just
Daniel
don't.
says that you should leave it to the church to talk about theology.
In the sense, like, I don't want to.
I am the church.
So, like, the first day you show up at like a secular theology sort of discourse or analysis, like the first thing they're going to say is, "Don't get involved in this if you're weak in the faith." You see what I'm saying? Because you're putting me in the position where, like, to like articulate myself, I'm sort of going against your faith in a way that I don't know.
I mean, I'm not putting you on the spot to necessarily to be like to be an adversary for what I'm espousing. What I'm trying to do is kind of spark a certain level of consideration, right? Because the same evidence that we might have, or even less evidence of some situations or events in the past, right? Or individuals, right? We'll give credence and accept those things, right? And the same skeptics, not obviously not you, right? They don't have the same they don't apply the same equal weights and measures in this situation. So they'll grant the same thing with the same what's essentially the same situation with one circumstance, but they won't grant it in this particular circumstance. You see what I'm saying? So and at the end of the day, again, it's not I I I'm not suggesting that you intellectualize your belief, right? Like if you're going to come to believe, chances are it's probably not going to be any kind of intellectual thing. That's not the purpose of the gospel or the message of what Jesus Christ is saying or conveying, right? It's just having faith in a proposition and living in a way that's in line with that faith that you have. You see what I'm saying? And it doesn't have to be no strong, because the scriptures about strong faith and weak faith and stuff like that. Like faith is faith. And if you can have faith in a lot of other things, right, I don't see any issue giving credence, at least in a situation where there's a possibility that it's true, And if even I know I'm using what's his name, argument, Pascal's wager, but like if it is true, right? At least your disposition is preset that when everything turns out and happens, right, then you're good essentially. Well, if you value existence. If you don't value existence, then it doesn't really make sense. Because I understand that there are some people who don't value existing.
Yeah, I don't really seem to have much control over that sort of thing. It depends on like what your definition of faith is, stuff like that. So I don't know.
I mean, that's fair. But again, like even like what you just asked me, right? Like when I first started reading my Bible, right? One of the things I see faith comes up, right? I'm trying to figure out like, okay, what does faith mean? Like I'm using my intellectual brain trying to apply it to things as far as I'm concerned are for all intents and purposes supernatural. I'm trying to intellectualize something that's supernatural that I don't have direct evidence for, right? And so I don't know, the point when I decide, you know what, I'm going to put all of this aside and I'm just going to address it for what it is instead of addressing it as like some kind of like academic study or something like that. Like, that's when I was convinced, right? Um, and I didn't presuppose that it was true. I gave other holy books and religions consideration. Um, and I will admit that there's a I'm somewhat of a pragmatist in my disposition. Like if I think it's a pragmatist and a utilitarian in my disposition, right? Um, and so I think that the teachings of Christ is useful for me as an individual, in relation just to myself and towards the people around me that's in my life. So there's that part of it too.
Yeah, I don't have anything against like the teachings of Christ or anything like that.
We know that, bro.
Quite a bit of agreement with the fella. He seems like a pretty decent guy.
Oh shit, Terry's giving him the look.
Terry, what do you
Like,
think about
Oh,
finish
that?
it.
what's up? I was reading the chat. What's going on?
Oh, you thought you were reacting to what Howdy said.
Well, the most I can do is investigate, and then if I faith, I faith. I don't know what like all
Terry,
that's. I'll do my part, and then whatever happens, happens.
Well, at least consider my advice about not intellectualizing like your reading of it.
I want to see your nails, Terry.
What?
See
He
your
wants to
nails.
paint his nails too.
I'm just amazed that her real nails are real. How amazing
They're
that.
not even that long right now. I cut them.
Real nails.
What do you mean?
Beautiful. So
Thank you.
I admire them. Not for myself, but I think they're cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
girly into girly things. Like doing my nails and such.
A coworker, I had a birthday, was one of the people that was working under me at one of my jobs, and she looked really upset. I don't know what happened, and I was like, you can take the day off, and here's some money to go get your nails done. Man, listen, I've never seen like a frown, like her frown turn into like the Joker smile. The ladies like to get their nails done, gentlemen. We don't get it,
Do.
but they do.
makes us feel pampered.
Taking notes, Jamie.
I already know this. So, believe or burn, buddy. Are you ready
Damn,
to sign the
bro.
proposition?
I was thinking about the original question.
Mhm.
Why am I? Although more generally, why are people heretics?
Oh, was that a real question?
I was just trolling, but if you want to answer, I guess go ahead.
I think a lot of people go wrong because I actually like it's like where do you start? Like, do we read this in light of that? Like, and I think really the starting place is Christology, like asking questions about Christ and getting those right. I think answer a lot of like eschatological, ecclesiological, soteriological questions. If you can get Christ right, you can probably figure out the rest of it.
Um, I guess I don't know. I would recommend people actually start from the Old Testament. I don't think you can fully understand um what Christ has done or like fully appreciate it um unless you read and understand the Old Testament, like the disposition of the people back then, and kind of like understanding why they needed to be saved in the way how they are saved at the end of the day. Um, you know, God's role, the Godhead's role, what each of them role is. But I do take your point. I think that a lot of Christians focus too much on the New Testament and don't study the Old Testament to get like proper context of a lot of stuff. And so they come up with like a bunch of strange theologies, most of which, to be honest, they're not salvific in nature. I think it's okay to, I don't think Christ cares about stuff like that for the same reason where the thief on the cross, like he didn't care whether or not, you know, Jesus Christ is God or not. Like he just asked for mercy.
No, I'm not questioning like what it takes to be saved. Because the question was originally like heretical doctrines.
Yeah, I think most heretical doctrines start by people not studying the Old Testament and viewing the New Testament in light of the Old Testament.
Well, you definitely read it all. I'm not saying to tear apart the canon. I'm just saying like the sort of like the foundation or the starting point of theology is probably the incarnation, in my opinion. Anyway, I don't want to.
I mean, I get what you're saying. Well, I'm talking from personal experience, but I was it I it was I grasped things better starting from my study of the Old Testament in light of what the New Testament like conveys. Because I think it's I mean my perspective is a little bit different than you because for me personally it's
I
like
agree. You read the new in light of the old.
yeah, it you know for me I'm looking at it from the perspective of okay, like maybe someone could have a false idea and they're sharing a false idea and it could be damning people, right? And
Unless
like
you're a Calvinist.
there are consequences to that. And so, you want to like if you're going to preach about something, like it should be the truth because how I think the reason why people believe is important, how they, why they decide to come to Christ is important that's going to influence the way how they behave, how they treat other people, you know, and that's going to affect their relationship with Christ at the end of the day.
I think he had two wills.
No, we're not doing this.
Okay.
No, we're not going there.
Is there some background information I'm
Terry
not
gets
privy
to pick
to?
the next subject. I want Terry to pick the next subject because he's way more interesting than that. Bring up something,
I
Terry.
got a question for Terry.
Okay, hi.
Do you like hats?
Do I like what?
Hats. I don't mean like baseball caps or any of that rubbish stuff. I mean like really nice lady hats.
Yeah, I've got a number of hats in my wardrobe. I'm a lady of many hats.
I don't see a lot of ladies wearing hats anymore.
Well, I don't know what to say about that. I don't see a lot of gentlemen wearing hats either.
That's true.
People
The
don't know
reason
how
I
to
don't
dress
wear them,
anymore.
the reason I don't wear them is because my head is too big.
Yeah, that can make it difficult. But it's worth it. I don't know. I feel so put together when I have my cap on. You know, it completes an outfit. Especially living in a colder climate, you know.
Yeah,
You need to have something on you, you know, the more the better.
I think it makes the ladies look more classy, in my opinion.
Mhm.
To be fair, I live in New York City, so you know, ladies looking classy isn't. It's either like business
Mhm.
or trashy for the most part. Business, normal, or trashy. Like
Right.
it's pretty
Well,
rare
now that
you
you go to
see.
like, you're not in Manhattan then?
No, I live in the Bronx.
Or? Okay.
Manhattan, it's no different in Manhattan for the most part. However, depending on like there's some lounges in New
Mhm.
York where like they, you know, you can't wear certain attire. You have to dress a particular way,
Mhm.
right? And then you'll see people dressed down and they look nice. I mean, like better than better than your Sunday best nice.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of the cigar spots are like that as well. Cigar clubs or whatever they call them are
Yeah.
like that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I like that type of attire. I think we should kind of change the ladies' minds nowadays. Like you don't have to dress overly like revealing or sexy for men to find you to be attractive.
Right. Well, it's femininity. That's the most important thing. And like knowing how
Preach.
to look polished is a big part of femininity. Like knowing how to look completely put together, like, and like a lady, it says a lot.
See,
You know, you
that
should be
and
appealing without having to. You should be inflaming like a man's deepest passions and longings, not his base ones.
exactly, especially
Mhm.
when there's like the behavior that
Mhm.
goes along with that. Like I know it's like some stupid cliche stuff, but it's like if a woman is like acting like a lady and you know, it's a situation where there's like a puddle of water, right? Like, bro, I'll put her on my back or I'll lift her up and take her, you know, take her over the water, and put her on the sidewalk. I'll do
Right.
that, you know. These other ladies nowadays, I'm not doing that, bro.
It's much easier to do if she looks nice than if she were to get wet, her attire would suffer, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You, like I think I don't remember the study where like how a lady behaves, which is like if she's more feminine and ladylike and respectful of herself, there's a better chance of her eliciting a certain type of behavior from the men
Mhm.
around her. you know.
Of course.
Um, you know, so it's not like this thing where people like made up. Like there's a reason why ladies in the past, right, who dressed nice, didn't do too revealing, they had standards, why they were treated a particular way by a lot of men, right? And garnered a lot of respect from men. You know, I told my mom, you know, like I'm screwed right now in terms of like finding a wife here. Because like you set such a standard in terms of how a lady should behave, right? And like that's what you told me, that you know how a wife should behave, and I gotta find a wife before I marry her. So if I don't see any wives, then I'm not gonna marry her. You know. I'm sorry, little buddy. Got your headache.
I'm fine. This is good. I like this conversation.
Speaking about head coverings, what's our thoughts on like yarmulkes? Like sometimes it'll say, okay, guys put on the hat, women no hats, and then later it'll say, okay, women need to cover their head. Okay, guys don't cover your head. So what are we doing? Are we covering? Are we not covering? Just everyone do what they feel like, I guess.
Some interesting interpretations on this. I'm interested in this conversation about we got to make people need to find wives and make babies. I think that's what we want to do here. So give them the advice, Terry.
I don't know. I haven't found a husband and made babies yet.
That's fair.
I don't give advice on things I'm not an expert on.
And like
CSAL can come up or somebody else with that experience.
oh, there you go.
I find being a lady is difficult in today's era as well. It's hard to find someone who matches you. It's not like there's a lot of gentlemen. I don't look around and see men that know how to be men either.
What I was surprised, like when I came to the US, when I was a kid, um I was surprised that they didn't have damn, what do they call them, like etiquette classes. I don't remember the correct term, but like
Yeah,
they teach
etiquette
you.
classes, yes.
Yeah, that was something that I took extra lessons for in Jamaica when I was, you know, when I was younger. They even teach you how to set the table and like how to eat properly and which utensils are for what and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of other kids hated it. I didn't really mind it. I thought it was pretty cool. But my view of America was like, you know, these things are probably like standard pretty much that they probably teach in school. And then I come
No,
here, I'm like, what?
no, Americans lack class a lot of the time and refinement, you know. Um, I think maybe because there is, I don't know. I think that it's for a lot of reasons, actually. I don't think it's just one. I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of parents don't. It's generational, you know. A lot of people just don't, you know, grow up learning about these things or even knowing they exist, you know. And for others people, like it's interesting in many other cultures, like this is stuff that people want to seek out for their kids so they know how to behave and conduct themselves, you know.
yeah, that's true. I think the other important thing is like teaching a lot of like independence stuff so they can survive as adults. Because I see like a lot of people my age, like, and I'm in my mid 30s, right? And they don't know how to do certain things. Like, I'm sorry, if you don't know, like, if your washing machine doesn't work and you don't live close to a laundromat, how are you going to do your laundry? You got to do it with your hands. And if you don't know how to do it with your hands, that's a problem, right? You know, how often, you know, you should clean your house, clean your bathroom, like, you know, how to keep your kitchen clean and keep pests away and stuff like that. Um, it, like you
Oh
can learn
my.
those things, but they're like those are things that you got to practice, you know. And I don't see parents teaching their kids how to do that stuff.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of discontinuity between the generations in that. I do see that a lot where certain skills just didn't get learned or passed down for some reason. So the parents might have it, but for some reason their kids never learned that basic stuff. It's a really terrible way to send your children off into the world if they don't know basic like hygiene, how to take care of themselves.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, it's and like and the
I
good
can't
thing.
judge because I'm messy too. So not that
Yeah,
much,
but I
but
mean, like take for example, right? Like dudes would like invite a woman over to their home, right? When your
mm,
home is not clean. Like even if you're a slob when no one
mm.
else is there, at like if you have, guests, your shit should be clean.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it should be comfortable for people to come into your home.
Yeah,
It's
you
just,
know?
yeah, it's courtesy, basic. I did have a friend who told me about that, how she was dating this guy the first time she went into his house. Like, he didn't have a towel for her in the bathroom, so she went to use the bathroom and wash her hands, and then she didn't have anywhere to dry them, and just stuff, well, things like that. It was like,
Dude,
you
I
should,
had
yeah, those little things, like maybe your house is out of order, but you know somebody's coming over, just get, like, to check at certain things, you know?
yeah. I
They'll
mean
do
like
it for us.
when
That's
I
how
was like,
I know Jamie. She dated him for like 2 years.
wow, that
I
long?
know, waste of life there, waste of time.
See, here's the funny thing, right? Like if I'm like dating someone, I
Mm.
literally have like a little care package laid out, right?
Mm.
They have their towels, wash rags. I know like two different like lady soaps, right? Um, um, toothbrush for them. Like all of those things are like
Package
preset.
toothbrush.
Yeah.
Man,
Right? You get your own toothpaste. Like all that stuff is like packaged and put away. So whenever she comes over, right? First of all, I don't need to be scrambling to figure anything out. I'll be like, okay, babe, here
the
is your
gift basket.
package. There you go.
Marked on the same, wrapped up, waterproof, got everything.
Yep. One ex told me that she thought it was weird that I was overly prepared, but she absolutely loved it, right? Because no other guy has ever done that for her before. Where in my brain, that's like standard if you're gonna court someone. You make sure you're prepared as a man.
Yeah.
You have to like take a shower and stuff too.
Oh yeah, bro.
Oh, oh. Link is pinned if anybody wants to join. Open forum. We have Terry
I have
here,
one of
so
my hats here. One
there
of
you
my
go.
hats.
The
Hmm.
French.
I have a question, because I know that some ladies under hats they don't like ornaments on them. Ornaments or no ornaments?
You mean like jewelries and decorations
Yeah,
and something? I
yeah.
generally don't go for that, but I mean, I wouldn't necessarily never pin something to my hat. I could see putting a little pin on my hat for a holiday theme or something, or maybe, something like a little brooch type of thing.
Yeah. Do you have a collection of brooches?
I've got a few. Not a massive, I don't feel like I'm in my brooch era yet, once I get a bit older, you know, that's for a lady of a certain maturity. I have not
I
reached.
mean, listen, there's this thing where it's like they call class personified, right? And it's like there's just certain things that you kind of expect from like a classy lady,
Mhm.
right? So it's like as someone who's interacted with a lot of classy ladies, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
asking you these things because I just know that's how classy ladies behave and the things that they like, right? So it's like you
Yep.
go to certain types of ladies, they'll, you know, you know their
Yeah, they
disposition.
got their little things that they do and their ways of putting themselves together.
Exactly. And to be
Yeah.
fair, a lot of guys sometimes find that to be like a little bit entertaining, intimidating, because
Mhm.
especially guys who are like more on the rugged side of things, you know, um,
Mhm.
they'll appreciate it, but they won't like, but not in the same way like a gentleman of the same disposition would. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Can, how you doing, brother?
I see you guys are talking about relationships and stuff.
I don't know. Are you?
I don't know. I just heard something about boyfriend or girlfriend. I was like, oh, okay. Let me see what's going on here.
I guess. Yeah.
Wait, so what was the subject about?
I don't know. Femininity, really. I
Yep.
think.
Ladies being ladies, so men can be gentlemen.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, well, it takes. Yeah.
Listen, y'all set the standard. We're the hunters,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Mhm.
I,
Y'all set the standard. We'll adjust to whatever, y'all put out there. So if women start being classy again, trust me, you will see a change in the way how men dress and behave to attract those women.
you want to know what my grandma did to get my grandpa? She threw a handkerchief on the ground and she made him pick it up. And bada bim, bada boom, 20 children came out of her.
Damn!
Yep. I
20?
got Yeah, or 15, 15 or 20. Now I don't remember how many uncles I have. I have 7 uncles and the rest are aunties. And I have a whole bunch of cousins.
Okay, to be fair, I have um 3 aunts, no,
Mhm.
2 aunts,
She
my
saved.
mom says, and oh man, like eight uncles, 8 or 9 uncles, I think.
I mean, we're kind of on the same ballpark, bro.
Yeah, bro. I'm not one to judge.
Mhm. Yeah, but I think, and that's just from their like them being together because my grandpa had a couple kids apart from her, you know. Like I think he had
Yeah.
like 4 more kids with some other lady, and my grandma, I
Dang.
no, my grandma was just always with. I only had children with my
She was always with child.
well, she didn't really have an option because he was a communist. But I mean, hey, what you gonna
Yeah.
do about it, eh?
Yeah, my
Terry was
Communist
grand
regime.
Terry was a communist.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, well, well, I mean, maybe a neo-communist, but I promise you, like those old-time communists, man, they treat their women pretty good, man. Just apart from all the beatings, but yeah, woo, that was fun.
yeah, my grandparents, it's on my mom's side, they
Yeah.
were married for like a bunch of decades, and they well, when my grandmother died, my grandpa died like a couple hours later, even though he was like in like really good health. I think he died of a broken heart, like literally.
Oh, that's
'Cause,
actually so sad. What?
yeah.
What? So he just died right after?
hmm Cause she was like really sick, and he was like taking care of her, um, like
Oh, that
pretty much all the
sucks.
time. And yeah, they've been married for, I don't know, maybe 60, 70 years. If you married with to someone that long and they're gone, your ass don't want to be around. So I don't blame him.
Dude, that's literally you literally lost half of who you are. I'm not even
Yeah,
exaggerating either. Even when you have like relationships that's only 2 years long or something, like you already feel like you guys are like one flesh at that point. So imagine like 20, 30, 60 years. That's crazy.
It's a lot of
yep.
flesh.
It's hard on people when they lose their spouse, and
I remember my grandma died. My grandpa told my mother that sometimes you don't really understand what you had until you lose it, basically. And
That's true.
it was the hardest moments of his time, and then he kind of had a stroke, and then it went downhill from there. Life. And
Yeah.
he was like a good, strong dude, strong old man. He's like 6'1", 6'2", big old buff guy, and then all of a sudden he had a stroke, and then he died like 3 years later. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, strokes really devastate a person. I've known a couple of
Yeah.
people recently that have had them, and it's
Yeah.
just
And my grandpa was old. He was already like 80 or something when it happened. So it was a death sentence pretty much. Not really
Sorry to
come
hear
back
about
from
his
that.
short size. Oh, hello, Cecil. Welcome.
Welcome.
Hola, buenas noches. How is everybody?
I am doing good, Sierra. How about you?
Doing well, thank you. I'm glad I found your channel, Jamie. And
it's hot air, isn't it?
yeah, it's peaceful. This feels so weird. I'm not used to it.
Well, get
I'm
used to
used
it
to
because
the
we
Sometimes,
talk about a lot of weird stuff
yeah,
here.
yeah.
I'm
I feel
used
like
to the
it can get
chaos.
heated sometimes, or like the debates can drag, but
Yeah,
it's pretty peaceful compared to other channels I've been on.
for sure.
Oh wait,
I
before
feel bad. I acted out this morning. I need to like go back and apologize.
When? Why? Oh, with
You saw
Sandman?
me a gangster goes. Oh yeah, definitely with Sandman. I don't know that I'll apologize to him, but I shouldn't have acted the way I did.
Oh, I
Mhm.
didn't. I didn't notice anything.
Yeah, with Sandman, there was Sandman. There was like Deviant Outcast, and Ozzo, and who else did I beef with? I
Oh,
feel like I beefed with.
oh, with the atheists? No, I wouldn't apologize. No, and they definitely don't feel bad about saying a whole bunch of stuff.
They
Well,
were
what?
lying. They were lying and being so devious.
Um,
But then there
Jesus.
was like Aiden.
There you go. Beef. Terry was mad.
I was beefing with Aiden. I was beefing with Sam. Well, I wasn't really beefing with Sam. I was just saying things. And then what else? I feel like did I get into it with Josh too?
Damn, bro.
But Josh is the worst.
And
Josh is
JV was
so
there almost the whole
rude and
time, like just
vulgar.
egging me on.
Wait. Which Josh are we talking about here?
I don't.
Shannon's like,
The,
what? I can't see that,
What are
Terry.
you
You know
chewing
what?
on?
And I'm very hard on myself,
Which one,
Shannon.
Jamie?
So like, if I ever like
Oh, no,
act
okay.
out or say anything like unkind, I'm always super hard on myself, Shannon. So I've just been like, you know,
You were for real.
thinking about it this evening as I was like, yeah, I probably didn't act so good this morning.
Jamie,
Feeling like
by the
I
way,
should apologize for my actions next time I go to Gangster Ghost Jail.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do. You don't want anything on your conscience at the end of the day.
Shannon understands me. Yeah.
Jamie, by the way, how did I wasn't able to watch your debate. I kind of like got on like 4 minutes before it ended, but how did it go? I don't know what does
Wasn't much
shrug
of a
mean.
debate, to be fair.
I wasn't there.
Roundtable just preached the whole time. I don't think he addressed anything. Anything Jamie said, to be fair, Jamie, like his ass didn't want to be there. So.
It was fine. I mean,
so he basically just preached the sermon, and Jamie was like,
I
just
basically was
standing
just
there.
like, I don't think God determines everything. Here's why. Here's the reasons, and didn't really get into it, going back and forth very much. And I was kind of distracted, and so, I mean,
Curry, were you distracting him?
I just, it was. I didn't like seek out to like undermine every Calvinist point. I just went there to make my view known. I think is a better way of looking at it. I didn't try to make really deep theological arguments. I just gave some texts that I think demand that their view doesn't work. And then I made I think my cross examination questions were really good, and I
Hmm.
think, and then I just gave um, hypotheticals to be like why that doesn't make sense to think, or why it doesn't make sense to think God determines everything, including like every single thrust of a rapist or you know things like that. Well,
Right,
like
so it was more like a pretty much a conversation than a debate, I guess, right?
in a sense, he didn't really try to address my arguments. You know.
Yeah, he literally just preached every opportunity he had.
But let's not talk about that. Cecil, why don't you give
I wanna.
how to give the young ladies and the young men advice on how to get with child and all that?
That's hilarious. How to get with child?
Takes a man
How
and a woman, right? So you're
that's
married,
a
you have kids. So because I want to see
that's
more babies get born and people get married because I think culture is losing that. So
Yeah, or like children being born in like families, not in dysfunction,
uh,
and people pretending it's okay.
I think the most concise, I guess, best thing I could say is it takes a man that really wants to be a husband and a godly father, and meeting a woman that really wants to get married and be a godly wife and mother. And it's just so happened, it just so happened that the stars aligned and my husband and I met at work, and he really wanted to be a husband and a father, and I really wanted to be a wife and a mom. And we have differences, and I try to overlook his differences. As a matter of fact, that we were talking the other night, and we are like, we don't have a lot in common, my husband and I. He's very active. A lot of the things he does, he likes, I don't like. I love reading. I love reading like romantic Victorian era books like Pride and Prejudice, and he wouldn't be caught dead reading Pride and Prejudice. So I think what has worked for us is overlooking that, like overlooking the petty, stupid crap that the world has told me my entire life is the most important thing that makes or breaks a marriage, unless you guys are completely compatible in every area and he finishes your sentences, and every time you look at him you feel butterflies. And I mean, I do feel butterflies, but it's not all rainbows and butterflies all the time. Sometimes it's really rough, and it's especially because sometimes he has to be gone for months for work, and I have to hold the fort on my own. And sometimes it's rough, the kids getting sick, me getting sick, blah blah. So it's rough, but we love the Lord and we love each other and we love our family. That's it. Like, if you find a woman that doesn't love God and doesn't want a family and want to submit and obey you and respect you and admire you, it's not going to happen. It doesn't matter how much money you're making. When my husband and I got married, I said this before, he wasn't making hardly any money at all. He was not making a lot of money at all, and neither was I. We struggled for the first few years, but my husband has always been a very hard worker. So money has nothing to do with it. I've learned all of those things that you think are super important. They're not. It's whether you want to stick in, whether you're in it to win it, whether you're in it for the long haul, and you see marriage as a sacrament, really, as something holy, sacred, that you cannot break. There's no like, oh, you hurt me, you did this, you did that. Divorce is on the table. No, divorce is never on the table, unless cheating. But even then, I could forgive cheating, or he could forgive cheating. I don't think so. I mean, I can say that now, but if it happens, that the whole thing changes. I don't know, but it's whether they want to do it. That's basically it. Like Joelle and Little C, they met, they got married so fast, and it's like it's because they wanted to be married and they wanted to be in a marriage, and that's it.
Yeah, I think
Lisa,
that has a lot to do with it.
I got a question.
Uh-huh.
Got a sister, late 20s, early 30s.
Everybody says that. Every
I'm joking.
and I'm like, no, I
No,
don't.
you
And
weren't.
it was hard for me because I'm the only girl and I have three brothers. So I grew up playing with my three brothers, fighting with them, a complete tomboy. And I have a picture in at a party. I was like 6 years old, and I'm wearing my cowboy boots and my jeans and a leather vest with a horse on it and my cowboy hat, like a Viking. But so it was hard for me really growing into my femininity. I didn't know what that was. My mom has always been very feminine and very respectful and stuff, but it took me a few years to be okay. And then I grew up, I would read a lot, and a lot of the things that I would read were feminist stuff that I didn't even know, was feminist stuff, but it was. And a lot of anger and stuff like that. And um I I had to unlearn that, and I had to stumble along the way and stuff, but
You read a lot of Cosmo?
actually, the only book I read, my mom bought me a Kindle when they were just like brand new or whatever, and I was so excited. And I went on the store, on the Kindle store, and I just was browsing books, which now I would never allow my daughter to do that. That's crazy. But I found this book. It was called Female Chauvinist Pigs by
I read that
Caitlin
book.
Moran. You you've read it, Terry? No way, by Caitlin
Female
Moran.
chauvinist pigs. Yeah, that was the big one. Wait, hold up. Was it Caitlin Moran did another one?
She did several.
Female
Yeah.
chauvinist pigs was like Ariel Levy, maybe?
Oh, I don't know. I can't
But
remember.
yeah, that one was like, that one came out like oddies. I love the color of it. It was like, there was good stuff in it, but it was also like really bad. I feel like it made me like more inclined towards seeking out like radical feminism in like the 60s, like women's liberation writings, because I was like, oh, well, feminism got hijacked. So that old feminism must be the good feminism.
Honestly, I was like 16, 17 years old. I no, like 15, 16. I didn't know what the heck I was reading. I was just in my little angsty teenage rebellious era. And
Right.
it made it made me feel cool, to like yeah, why are feminists angry all the time? I don't know, but I grew out of that. Thank God. I started you know, I started a relationship with God, with the Holy Spirit, and naturally, all of those thoughts and all of those feelings and crazy ideas disappeared. I can't tell you I read this or that. No, I just started reading the Bible, and that kind of cleansed my mind of all the insanity. And it
Right.
took me it took me years, but by the time I met my husband, um, I I was comfortable being soft. Like growing up, I always felt like I had to be tough. I have to be strong. Crying is ridiculous. Stupid girls do that. I'm not a stupid girl. I'm not a delicate, girly girl. That sucks. That's not cool. I'm a tough girl, blah, blah. And by the time I met my husband, thank God, all of those stupid ideas, I had learned what a real woman is, especially according to the Bible. And it was easy, and it's helped, um because the more that I can admit, oh, honey, can you help me do this or do that or blah blah, I can't. It's easier for him to step up, and he feels good helping me move this or that, or like it's one of those little things that he can shine and feel like the hero. I mean, he is the hero. I mean, he works and he pays all the bills. I don't work, but all of those things are super important.
It's funny you say that. I was speaking to one of my friends, and I was explaining to her like why in the context of relationships, men men thrive on the idea that they're needed, right? And
Right.
like a lot of people don't understand that like like men love to take care of those who they care about, right? And if you look at a man and say to him, like, if you have any romantic interest, and say, well, I don't need a man, right? I just want a man. That's you telling him, okay, well, I'm not needed here.
To
Right.
accept his love, really, is what it's
Yeah,
like. Yeah.
like how men love is by doing.
Right.
Um, one thing I want to say is it's very good that you realize that certain traits, especially when it comes to like female emotions, is um is something that you I'm assuming you started to express a lot more after you met your husband and everything. Eh, a-
Yeah.
as a woman, that is extremely important. It's part of what you are. If you try to take that away from you, it affects you psychologically very,
Yeah.
very, very badly.
Right.
I've known some females who who've basically been tomboys all their life. They try to act as manly as possible, try to throw away the crying aspect and the emotion aspect, and they normally tend to be very depressed because
Yep.
of how much they try to suppress what they actually feel. So
Mm-hmm.
very important that you let go of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I got another question, Cecil.
What's up?
Have you ever driven your husband to sleep on the roof one night?
What?
Okay,
I,
there's a piece of
I wouldn't know
scripture
where
in
this
the
is going somewhere.
Bible.
I don't know what that means.
I was trying to make a joke. There's a scripture in the Bible that it's better for a man to like
Oh,
sleep on the
yeah.
rooftop than dealing with a wrathful woman or something like that.
Basically, he's asking you if you nag a lot. That's what he's asking.
You know, yes, for some time there, I got this little spirit or this little bad habit. And by the way, I'm talking about a few days, not like months or
Yeah.
years, of course not. And my husband was like, you need to stop nagging me. So he he doesn't tiptoe around me. He was straight up because he knows that's the way that I understand it. And I was like, I'm not nagging, typical ego. I'm like, I'm not nagging. And he's like, yeah, you've been nagging. You've been nagging me for days. And I was like, oh. So I was like, oh, I need to watch that. Like, what's going on? Why am I um what am I worried about or blah 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 blah. And I had to step back and be like, I have to let it go. Whatever it is I'm worried about or whatever, he's gonna figure it out. And if he doesn't figure it out, then it doesn't get figured out, and then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But only once he's ever told me that I was nagging.
A lot of ladies will find that to be so offensive, and it's like us as men, like we understand that like eventually like our lady is gonna do that, you
Right.
know. But a lot of men, they don't take the approach like your husband. They'll like tiptoe around and like
Mm-hmm.
avoid the conversation or avoid like saying anything, right? Because they're afraid to offend. It's like, no, you got to be straight up. Be like, hey, like, you know, you're nagging me. Please stop.
Right.
You know, and explain that you're not trying to be offensive or whatever, but it's not productive for you to do that.
Right. And the thing is, I don't want to nag him. I don't want to piss him off. I don't want to, since the first, one of the first conversations we had when we were planning on getting married was that I was telling him, I don't want to be the bitchy wife, the nagging, stereotypical wife. Never want to be that. um but that means you're going to have to step up to the plate and get things done, and I'm not going to be nagging you and being after you. Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. But if you don't do it, it's not going to get done. And he's like, yeah, yeah, that's fine. And he's doing it. Yeah. Whatever it is, he gets it done. He just fixed my washer. My God, I was the happiest person in Texas.
I I once I once put up a ceiling fan. Can you guys applaud me?
A
You're
ceiling
so
fan?
manly.
Oh my God!
That's
Thank you
pretty
so
cool.
much. I also fixed the sink. How about that?
That's
Can you guys?
that. Hey,
I
that's
do have
super
the
important.
Nice.
Okay,
Nice.
can I get wife
I'm putting
now?
the chandeliers in.
One wife, please. One wife to go.
No, my teeth are good.
Wait, do you have a headache
One
or is
sec.
it?
Yeah, I just have like I don't know if a migraine or whatever.
Hmm.
I get like really bad migraines, like blindfold, um, noise canceling headphones,
Yeah, me
bad
too.
migraines. So I feel you, bro.
My mother also gets migraines and it hits her pretty bad. Not as bad as you, bro. You look like you about to die every time you get migraines. Like what?
I'm fine.
Brother goes blind, deaf, and everything.
Yeah.
This
So
gets worse.
what's so I got a question. Like, what do you guys think about um? Because I have to kind of explain this to a friend. Like back in the days when a lady would play hard to get, and like they didn't understand that was like a mating strategy for women back then to like weed out the guys who who pursue her to see who was really interested in her. You know, um, like ladies nowadays find that to be dumb, and I'm like, why would you not
You should
want
be
to
hard
make
to get.
sure? Yeah, right. Like he should earn it. Like he should show that he actually wants to be with you long term,
I think
right?
the best weeding out is no sex till marriage. The second you say there's no sex till marriage, like that's strictly saved for the marriage bed, immediately, they'll disappear. Either they
That's
just
so
Th-
true. So
this is how it normally goes. You tell them that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, man, no problem," and then they slowly stop
Yep.
talking to you. That's all. That's literally always how it goes. I
That's
back
true.
then
This is for the married people only.
for the married
But
people
I
only.
don't know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to,
Yeah, it is.
because I know I've had that. Like I've had guys that like were trying to get at it, and I'm like no, and they go away, and then they try to come back, and I'm like you could have been getting to know me this whole time, marrying me, and getting it regular for me, but no.
Yeah, yeah.
You
It's
need
See,
to treat me like I'm some kind of like I don't
piece of
know,
meat.
like rental car or something.
yeah.
The way
It's
how I look at
gross.
it is like if both parties are like that into each other, I was gonna use the H word, that ends
Mm,
with Y, right? Like sit down, have a have a conversation about the important stuff, right? Shared
mm,
goals, what's the plan when we do get married, right? Set a and set a time when you are going to get married, right? Set how long you're going to actually live together, right? Um,
Forever.
no, I'm talking before marriage because you got to get used to someone,
Forever.
right? You have to get used to someone, and their mannerisms and stuff like that. And there's no better way to get to know someone than being around them, right?
Oh, I don't know, but if you're living together, it's so likely that you will end up sleeping together.
No, you
Yeah.
do that after you're
Yes.
you're engaged, right? And like you have
But
to.
even so, I don't think it's a good idea.
Not biblically, not according to
Uh,
the Bible, no.
I wouldn't risk it.
No,
if it well,
I
if
swear
it
I'm
was
gonna marry you.
if it
I
Don't
was
also
based
even.
on
wouldn't be comfortable living with somebody I wasn't married to as well.
Right, exactly.
Because,
if it
like,
was
you're enmeshing everything you have and own and are with that person, and you're not even properly committed.
And
Like,
of
you,
course Yeah, and if
Oh,
you're
you're
living
gonna
together, you're gonna
expose
have
that, man.
sex.
If it breaks up, which it is likely to, because you're not doing things the right way.
Dude,
Like,
it's
I
especially hard when you've already had relations in the past and then you try to move together before marriage. Dude, that is impossible.
Yeah,
You're gonna end up having sex, man. I'm sorry. This
yeah.
this yeah, it's not a good idea.
I
No,
don't
you.
think
I
it's a
mean,
good idea. Like, if I mean,
so the reason why I'm saying this is that, like, realistically, right? Anytime you and your partner, if you want to take a biblical approach to it, like whenever you and your partner goes out, like a male has to be there with you and your girlfriend to make sure you're not doing any funny business. That's the first thing, right? Every time
Yeah,
you have to ask, you have
it's
to
called a
get
chaperone.
permission. Yeah, you have to get permission from her parents just to even court her, not even to get married, just to court her, and you have to get permission from her parents to marry her. Like
That's
it's
how it
not
was
even
with
up to her.
me.
No,
That's how it
no,
was
I
with
get
me.
that. Because
It
it makes.
works.
Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't work, right? What I'm saying is that, like there's there's up to a certain point, right? Like some people regret not figuring certain things out before they get married. And that's part of the reason why a lot of them get divorced. At least some of the people who I know that are friends who did get divorced,
Like what?
right?
Like what things did they wish they could have figured out?
That their partner doesn't is not very tidy at home,
See, that's the
right?
okay, that's
Like,
the thing. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. When you get married and you're both Christians and you're both in it till death, that tidy crap, that doesn't matter. If it's gonna have to be a fight, it's gonna have to be a fight, and we'll fight it out, and it'll take years to change, or maybe it won't. But that crap doesn't matter. At least in my opinion, that those are tiny little things in the grand scheme of building a family, building a legacy, having children that are going to change the course of history by the things that they can do for society and for the kingdom of God. All those little things are such little things.
I mean, I
Um,
agree with you. Don't get me wrong, I agree with you. I don't mind a woman playing hard to get. Shit, I find it to be exciting, right?
but it shouldn't be
Um,
hard to get.
and
It shouldn't be, there should be no playing hard. It should be what it
it
is.
should be a game.
no,
Yeah,
it's not. It's not a
just to be who
game.
you are.
No, no, no. It's not a game. He's trying to see.
I love what
He's
they
trying
think
to
you're
see
playing a
how.
game.
No, no. It's not like that. I'm
They are,
just
are we
saying,
playing
like,
a game?
the
I'm just
reason
being
why
me.
I get excited about, like like even that little thing is because, like, most of my adult life in dating, right? Very few women would even do that.
Right.
I've only met one woman who's actually like, I'm gonna actually spend the time to get to know you, right? No sex,
Before
nothing
jumping
like
in bed.
that.
Yeah.
Like, right? Now, I eventually wanted to get married to this girl, but she ended up passing away. She got sick and
Oh,
passed away,
wow.
right?
That's
So it's
crazy.
like those, like the thing, it was like a thing that I grew up seeing, like as a kid, and was kind of expecting, right? And like I didn't see any of that, and now I see it with one person, and I'm like, ooh, that's like super exciting. You see what I'm saying? Like she had family values, she knows what it means to be a wife in terms of her duties and stuff like that. So that's the reason for my excitement. Those are things that I enjoy, right? And she didn't play games in terms of like playing hard to get, right? Of course, there's going to be flirtation or whatever, right?
Right. There
But the
has to
focus was
be.
to get to know each other.
Right.
One thing I'll say about like the well, precisely the getting to know each other and knowing each other's personal issues and stuff like that.
Like that.
Um, why am I hearing myself?
I have no idea, bro.
Okay, never mind. I don't hear it anymore. But point is, uh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
What the heck is going on? Oh, whatever. I don't care.
You
Well,
aren't-
That's why, bro.
but yeah. For example, the tidy stuff, right? That you could get an easy answer by that, by for example seeing how she behaves herself
Yeah.
around you, or you even when you're if you get invited to her parents house at her house, you could see around how the
Right.
house looks. You see those details to come to a conclusion, and as a matter of fact, if you have enough trust with the parents, you could even ask them, you know. I'm starting to slur my word. My Hispanic side is showing too much. But um, those you can know a person without even asking them, just by looking around, seeing what they do, how they behave. If you notice little patterns that they have,
Look around
like
when they turn their camera on.
yeah,
Check it
yeah.
out.
Jamie, you're actually spitting right now. As a matter of fact, I'm going to add a couple cameras around the house of one of the girls that I like, just to get to know her as much as possible.
That's not even funny.
Good idea.
I might end up in jail, but that's okay.
But it'll be worth it.
It'll be worth it. But yeah, like as I was saying, like just look at the like little details, the way she, uh, the way she talks to you, the way she talks with other people when you're around them. You know, that has to do a lot with how you get to know someone. It's not just, oh, she talks to me sweet. Oh, she cooked for me one time,
Mhm.
which is very nice. If your girlfriend cooks for you once, that's pretty cool. But um, all those little details you can get to know about said person if you just pay attention, pretty much.
Man, like my
That's
standards are like so. This is how bad it is. Like I don't even need her to even know how to cook. I'll teach her how to cook. She don't know how to clean. I teach her how to clean.
Oh,
Right? Like
that's
there
a
you go.
slippery slope. Because if you
That's a
meet
slippery.
her, the thing is, it's like saying, I'll marry a girl that is 300 pounds. It doesn't matter that she's 300 pounds. When we get married, I'll help her lose the weight. That's what it is. Because what is she telling you? She's already telling you that she's got horrible habits, that she doesn't respect herself, or
Mm.
her health. Or if she doesn't cook, it's telling you she doesn't cook, she doesn't put appreciation and the importance that it takes to cook healthy food, to feed herself and nourish the children.
I'm sorry, Cecil. We're not laughing at you.
This dude's desperate, bro. It's all right, man.
What's what's happening?
Hold on, man. Okay, we're gonna close it down. So I
What
want to get
happened?
everybody gets like 2 minutes to make a final statement.
No,
So
we were
make
reading a comment from Matt in the
Oh.
comment section. Yeah.
he was just teasing. He's like, my standards are so low, I'd marry Batman. Okay.
Awesome.
So Kaylin, Howdy, Cecil, Batman, Terry.
That's all I wanted to say. I don't have anything else to add.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your contribution. I appreciate it. It's nice to have you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye.
Good.
AI android wives potentially.
Oh, boy.
That sounds like a nightmare. I do not want to be part. I do not want to partake in that. Jamie, that's close. That's like the robot sex doll stuff.
Yeah, they're demons.
100%
Demons.
confirmed.
No sex robots, or you're not
No,
saved.
no
If
sex.
you buy a sex robot, you lose your salvation. So
The world we live in.
I
As
don't
if-
make the rules. I just abide by them.
Wait, who's next?
You.
Oh, hello. Well, I mean, there's pretty much a quick conversation for me, that is, because I literally joined like 15 minutes ago, 20. But yeah, it was cool little short conversation. Had a lot of fun. Yeah, Christ bless you all and have a good night. See you guys.
Good to have you, brother. Batman.
Well, I agree with C-Sal at the end of the day, really. But I'm just letting you know, ma'am, they don't make him like you anymore. So, I gotta take the scraps. Anyway, thanks for the stream, Jamie. It's a pleasure as usual talking to you, Terry. And Jamie, your mustache is not safe.
You're muted. You're muted.
Oh no. I don't know that I have any closing thoughts. I guess the last thing I was thinking was C-Sal's comments about not marrying someone who's 300 pounds and thinking you're going to change them, or whatever their calamity might be. You have to accept people at face value. Right? You don't go for their potential, go for who they are.
Yeah, it's probably a wise thing to do. I agree.
Right.
Hang out there.
Yeah, because if not, you'll be disappointed.
Yeah, right. All right, guys. God bless. Love you guys. Good to have you. Thanks, Terry. See you later.